Hello and welcome to the Nerds at Large 2021 Game of the Year episode. I am Darby Hallman.
I'm Jeff Mayo.
And we are joined by two very special guests, Jacob Hamill.
Hello, hello.
And William Outlaw.
Howdy.
Gentlemen, welcome back. How are you doing? How has 2022 treated you so far?
It's been, I guess, an interesting first few weeks of 2022, which is, I think most people would say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, we got snow up here at least, so it's not all bad. Let's say that.
Oh, did you build a snowman?
We did. My family actually came from Florence just for the snow, so they were with us for a few days, and my little sister and mom and dad and I and my wife all made a snowman.
Nice.
It was beautiful.
Heck yeah. I'm sure that's a new experience.
Well, it definitely
Getting
wasn't
snow
that
where you
much.
live,
Yeah.
That was a lot of snow.
Well, heck yeah. That's awesome. Well, everyone's convinced we're getting snow down here in Columbia, but I am not.
No.
I think we'll get ice. We're very good at that.
Yeah.
True.
Well, we are not here to talk about 2022. This year is not started yet. This year doesn't start until the end of this podcast. That's when 2022 actually
I piled
starts.
up like any 2022 games.
We're here to talk about 2021, which is a year that, like, I think it was undeniably a good year for video games. I think it was a year that, at least for me, was like missing like the top tier games, like that, you know, maybe 2020 and some of the other years had. But there was still a lot of like quality stuff coming out, like left and right, and like Metroid coming back and things like that. There was like, yeah, I think it was definitely a good year.
Yes. There are a lot of great games. Yeah, like Darby said, may not like the top, like everyone agrees, oh, this is the GOTY game, it's generation type of shit. But I mean, might be a game or two that are equivalent to those in my mind, but yeah, not the broad appeal necessarily kind.
For sure. And I mean, I think you see that by like It Takes Two winning Game of the Year. I think that was a more interesting Game of the Year winner than most. But Jeff, how is this episode going to be structured?
All right, so we got a bunch of categories, which are pretty much all the same ones we had last year and probably the year before and all that. We're going to go through one by one, do honorable mentions, say our winners. Some people may not have winners. You know, that's the way it goes. And then we'll go into our honorable mentions. But for me, it's my top 11 through 20 games. And then we'll go into our top 10s.
Yeah, we're all going to have 11 through 20 games, definitely.
Yeah.
Yes.
And for our top 10s, we'll just do the fun thing of where applicable just kind of go down. Each one says they're 10 and just take turns going down.
All right. Well, Jeff, man of the hour, why don't you start us off?
All right.
With favorite character.
The favorite character. A lot of good characters this year. Here are my runner-ups I got for characters. Kaine from Nier Replicant. It's a really enjoyable character. Her and Emil, love their relationship and all that. Drax from Guardians of the Galaxy. It's hard for me to think of a character from that game with such a great cast, but Drax was really a standout in my mind. Ford Cruller from Psychonauts 2. Again, great cast character. Try to pick one, but Ford really stands out, especially how his evolution from the first game. And Setsu from Nocia. In a game full of characters where there's a bunch of timey-wimey shit and all that kind of stuff, Setsu just stands out, and especially with the way that game goes, her or they as your constant companion kind of throughout the game as the one who kind of goes through with it was really great. But my character of the year for 2021 was Alex Chen from Life is Strange True Colors. That is a very story-heavy game, and Alex was such a delightful character throughout this and had a very good story. And I don't know, I love everything about her. Her voice acting is great, and I think she's probably easily my favorite main character out of the Life is Strange franchise, which franchise I love.
That's still pretty high praise, though. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's very high praise. They have some strong main characters. That's for sure. Yeah. That's awesome.
Y'all turned me on to the first game, 4 years ago? So I feel like I need to play this one.
Yeah,
And Life is Strange 2. Don't forget that one.
Mm.
Yeah, I need to catch up. To Hue and True Colors. But yeah, I've heard nothing but high praise, and that is super high praise, Jeffrey. Well, my favorite character should be no surprise to anyone. It is Yuffie from the Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade DLC. So yeah, you're going to notice this DLC probably is going to get several awards from me. But like legit, the way that they handled Yuffie, the introduction of Yuffie was just like so much better than I ever could have imagined. It's the same thing that Remake has done with all the Final Fantasy VII characters. They take the essence of what makes them that character, and like they still hold on to that, but the context around them, their motivations, their mannerisms are just so much more fleshed out and believable in a modern game. And Yuffie even more so than the rest. Everyone else still basically had the same backstory. Yuffie, they changed a lot in a very, very good way, because in the original game, she's just an optional character that you can find in the woods, basically. And so as a result of that, she kind of really couldn't be very important to the plot, because you were able to finish the entire game without her being there. So there's a lot of times where she kind of just felt irrelevant. This gives her so much more of a center stage, and it is going to make her introduction into the party mean so much more, because you've already went through all of this with her. And I think they just made her a way more fleshed out character, way younger and more naive than the rest of the party, and just like charming. You know, she just like has undeniable charm to her, and I loved every minute of it. And my only runner up that I had here was Rivet from Ratchet and Clank. I thought she was a excellent addition for Ratchet and Clank as well, and I sincerely hope that whatever future Ratchet and Clank she's remains to be a playable character.
Yeah. I had Rivet on my runners up list, but then I remember Setsu was like, "Sorry, Rivet."
That's fair. No, that's fair. And who played Rivet? Like I forgot.
Or oh wait, no.
Jennifer Hale. Yeah, she did a fantastic job. Fantastic job.
Jacob,
do you have a favorite character?
I do. Yeah, I was actually thinking, because this year, 2021, or last year, I think we're kind of like in the liminal stage of the new year, where it's like kind of timeless. But yeah, I just had that kind of thought that the games that came out that I played, at least in 2021, were just kind of weaker overall. But then kind of thinking through these categories, I was like, well, actually, there's some really strong contenders on this list, on my list. And so my favorite character is, I guess technically this is a character that came out about a decade ago, but it's Emil from Nier Replicant, who is just such a sweetheart. I would take a bullet for Emil any day, no questions. But he's just a really great character, and I think I played the original Nier before this remake came out, but I know like a lot of people were coming to Emil from Nier Automata, where he's kind of like an Easter egg, kind of like a jokey sort of character in that game. But when you see where he came from with the original Nier, he's there's just a lot of substance to him, and I think the way he kind of encapsulates the themes of the game, and also the way he interacts with other characters in the game, like the main character Nier or Kaine and Vice. Like, it's all really great. He's probably my favorite character of the year.
Heck yeah.
Will, do you have one?
Cool. Yeah, so I played a total of 4 new games this year. I know.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to be as much fun with these categories, but I will at least call out Peter Quill from Guardians of the Galaxy, who I actually really enjoyed in this game. I thought the game did a great job of showing not just his fun side, but a lot of his leadership qualities. When you're actually in control of him and you're able to choose between your dialogue choices, I think it opened up a lot of opportunity for you to be able to see that, okay, this guy who's kind of played a little one note in the movies now actually does have a lot going on. He's trying to hold together this team, trying to be the leader that he knows he can be, while still not trying to be too serious. So I think they really nailed him in that game.
I agree. It's kind of weird before playing it and seeing it afterwards as well, that people like the Guardians cast, but a lot of people didn't like Peter. I saw that, and then when I played, I was like, I don't get what you guys are talking about. This Peter's great.
Yeah, I don't.
I mean,
get
they're all
that
great.
at all. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. All righty. Favorite cast. All right. Runners up, I got Guardians of the Galaxy for Mitch's reason, just great cast. And admittedly, I haven't read comics, but at least so far, they're my favorite version of those characters. Just it's they talk a lot, but I really liked enjoying listening to them talk. Life is Strange 2 colors. That it's a Life is Strange game. I just love Haven Springs and all the people in it. It was just a very nice, cozy vibe, and characters are great. Persona 5 Strikers, love Persona 5. You just get more of that cast, and it's just kind of fun going through it, and just kind of get more like slice of life moments with these characters.
I kind of forgot that was last year.
And Nocia, which it is a Among Us kind of game that's with a story focus, so it needed good characters to get you through doing all that, and they did a good job. Fair cast, Psychonauts 2. I don't think that is surprised if you've listened to this podcast throughout the year. Just the writing and everything in that game is just so fantastic, and the way they write their characters, and just kind of with the character arcs for all the characters and how that kind of blends into the levels, and the levels just have so much character just based on the characters or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So well done. All the problems going on is just all the nuance and stuff with them.
Hell yeah. Oh yeah. Well, my favorite cast is Final Fantasy 7 Integrated again. I won't spend a whole lot of time on it, but this is mostly it's Yuffie and God, I had his name.
Can't even remember a second character's name. What a cast, right?
What a cast! Hey man, I'm kind of lipping into 2021's GOTY. I'll be 100% honest with you. I wanted to say like Shion, but that's the Tales of Arise first.
I was gonna say Sidon. That's Sidon, is it?
And I can't freaking find it. Sonon, yeah. Whatever. His name doesn't matter. He was very I thought their relationship with each other was very, very good. How it was like he was very much kind of the older brother guy who was like the straight man, while she was kind of like bouncing off the walls and going crazy. But and how they kind of didn't like each other at the beginning, but just there was a very big character arc even in that 4-hour journey there, to the point where you really did start to care about these two characters. It's kind of rare for my favorite cast to be kind of a two-person cast, but I do think that was one of the strongest parts of Final Fantasy VII Remake period has been their relationship with each other. Yeah. So I think that's easily my number one. But my number two is also again from Ratchet and Clank, the Ratchet and Clank cast, because I think also once again the connections between everyone in that cast, and I love that you kind of got these different pairings. You got Ratchet with forgetting her name too. Kay, or whatever on their name was, the little ones, the little Clank, new Clank character. Yeah, Girl Clank, Ratchet and Girl Clank, and Clank and Rivet. It was just very fun seeing both of these two sets of characters. Kit, yeah. We're getting to know each other, and their personalities are all very different. I think they handled that very well. It was like a Pixar movie. It was nice. That's it.
Yeah, so my favorite cast is kind of what I hinted. The last category, favorite character, is the cast from Nier Replicant, which I think those characters are all extremely well written, and then the way that they, which is interesting because Nier Replicant is pretty much like a game that's very meta in a lot of ways. It's playing with very archetypical game or JRPG tropes, especially. Yeah, it is. Yeah, in the structure as well as with the characters, but the way it kind of wrinkles that and manages to have really amazing characters that stick with me. So Emil, Kaine, Nier, Vice, and then also the side characters. The way that they all kind of, I think, touch on the game's theme, such as what it means to be a caretaker, this almost like loss of innocence, monstrosity, like what, though that we determine what is a monster and what is not, being very subjective. I think it was all comes through with these characters. So it's just a great cast, and I'd say even a better cast than Nier Automata, which is like one of my favorite games. But I think
I agree.
really with Nier Replicant, yeah, it's through the characters that game I think really shines.
I was just thinking, did I forget to put Nier Replicant on favorite cast? But this is a strong year.
I'm glad I made you reconsider. Or had that thought.
It's hard. Oh wait, Will.
Yeah, I mean, without a doubt, it's Guardians for me. I think it's pretty impressive how they were able to, for most people, the movie versions of those characters are what they know and what they love. And to even be able to speak of these video game versions in the same breath is pretty remarkable. So they did a good job of keeping their essence without just copying, exactly the MCU version. So I really enjoyed it.
And even the characters that aren't even in the MCU yet are great and memorable in that game.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so the Marvel bug has bitten me some with the Spider-Man and all these other shows and everything. So like my goal for you two by the end of this podcast is to convince me to start it up on the PS5. Okay, I've thought about it a few times or whatever. So
It has Final Fantasy VII. It has Final Fantasy VII remake combat. So
it does have it does look very similar, yeah, with the switching and everything. So
Darby's like, I'll be right back.
just bought it.
Yeah, so if y'all can if I can be convinced that needle can go over the edge by the end of this night, that's the goal.
All right, moving on to favorite setting, favorite place that you enjoyed living in a video game. This is a weird one because I just kind of do places or whatever, but it's like Guardians of the Galaxy isn't on here, even though the settings and stuff are cool because I'm weird with this category.
No, that's fair. Yeah, I just did games, but yeah.
Honorable mentions: Picnic from Chicory. That is a fun little game. I got to color in and make it my own and all that. And honestly, like a nice little coloring book. Nice little puzzles. The Village from Resident Evil Village. This was a fun place to explore and all that and try to survive and watch how they're going to chop off Ethan's hands next. Mother Low from Psychonauts 2. Just a fun place to also explore. Talk to characters and then find some brains to jump into, brains. That's one of the best places. Number 1 setting, Haven Springs from Life is Strange.
Nice.
True colors. It was like, it's arguably too perfect of a town overall, but it just had the jolliest vibes. The villagers there are very nice and all that kind of stuff. I mean, they all had their problems and they all weren't perfect, but it was just a nice place to live where you're like, man, I'd like to live here. Such a jolly place.
That's even higher praise, guy. I expected this to be Psychonauts 2, so that's really high praise for Haven Springs. That's really good. That's really good. I'm noticing that I'm giving a lot more awards so far to Ratchet and Clank, which is my number 1. That is my number 1 setting of the year. Because just there's a lot of things about Ratchet and Clank that I think were maybe didn't shake things up as much as they should, but this was the perfected version of Ratchet and Clank, and one of the best ways I can say that is this is one of the most gorgeous games I've ever played. And Ratchet and Clank's worlds have always been interesting and wacky and crazy with all the different like plant or aliens and stuff like that, but here it's that on steroids because you're just riding through and just like the foliage coming through or like the light shining on the water. It's like this is a cartoony game, but it legitimately is like pressing that PS5 for everything that we thought it could do. And that was just so impressive to me. I just love that they chose a game like Ratchet and Clank to like blow the doors off of the graphics and like show all these things. And I think every one of those worlds, even though there wasn't a lot of them, they were dense and very cool, and the different creatures that were there were like very unique and opposed to each other. And all hail the Morts. Like the Morts were just the best parts of 2021 for sure. And my runner,
I was gonna say,
yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say the way that they that you're able to change the environments too with some of the crystals every once in a while is pretty cool. I think Ratchet and Clank's mine as well. So
absolutely, yeah. This one's pretty. It was pretty set in stone, and that one was my runner up. Is actually It Takes Two. Because I think some of the things they did with the world in there was they like because it's just it's you're just in a house, and sometimes like you're the front yard or whatever, but because you're microscopic, the things that they do to like show this is, you know, like it's like a whole new world underneath your daughter's bed and all this other stuff. Like there's so many like unique, cool things that I just like loved being in that world, and just discovering what just batshit insane twist would come next. It was like, yeah, I loved that setting a lot.
Yeah, I think this year was like a really good year for very distinct settings, very good places in video games that had a strong sense of uniqueness or sense of place. And for me, it's kind of interesting because this setting is very, very small, but it's so outstanding in its atmosphere and its tone, and that is the cabin from Inscription.
I was wondering when this game was going to pop.
Nice,
Yes.
yeah.
Just such, you know, I mean, other pieces of media they have done like the spooky haunted forest vibe, but I think Inscription does it so well, and just it's so unsettling, but also bizarre in an almost silly kind of way. So it's these kind of those two feelings kind of pulling against each other in the cabin, and being able to like move around, even the puzzles that you can solve in the cabin. I think just it all ties together into this very memorable location. And there's the guy, the main antagonist, who's always in the corner, but you can't quite see him, and he's always looking at you whenever you're walking around, which is very unnerving. So yeah, that's my favorite setting.
Horrifying. Oof.
Yeah, anything to say, Will?
Oh, yeah, well,
I know.
No, I just think the
Ratchet
Ratchet and Clank worlds were all fascinating to me. I think that's my favorite part. I've only played 2 Ratchet and Clank games, but the traveling to different worlds and seeing the environments they have to offer have been my favorite part of both. So, yeah.
absolutely.
All right, favorite story / narrative. What story made you cry the most? Yeah, as far as favorite stories, Nocia's one was really good as first runner, or at least my run up. Nocia, just the way that story unfolded, just because it is a time loop game where you're just playing quick games of like Werewolf and Among Us and that kind of thing, was very interesting, and having to do all these very specific things and be the killer, or getting someone to survive, and all these scenarios to get the story and stuff is very interesting. And just learning what exactly was going on was a trip, to say the least. Also a trip was Near Replicant.
Yeah.
Just the way that story is told is just bonkers. And surprisingly, the farther I get away from it, the more I like how you got to kind of replay things. Like, I think it does really well for the story. I get how it's not for everyone, but I think overall it was very well done. And like Jacob said, characters are great. Okay, no surprise with me saying the way I've talked about this game so far, Life is Strange True Colors, just finding everything about the town and their problems and using your powers to do it, and find, you know, going to see who solved your brothers or who killed your brother, or that kind of stuff. And learning about Alex's past was a treat. Very fun. And again, I think this might be my favorite Life is Strange game.
Very high praise.
Yeah.
Crazy.
My second runner-up, Guardians of the Galaxy. That, like, the more I think about the game, the more I just love it. Like, you can argue about pacing as far as gameplay does, but I think the pacing of the actual story is about as good as you can get for this kind of game, in my opinion. It's so well done. They kept on kind of upping the ante, and just the way things go and how they call back to things throughout the story, and how you saw the Guardians grow through this was such a treat and such a surprise. Like, even the best I thought this game would be, this game just surpassed it in that way. Number 1, Psychonauts 2. I don't think that's a surprise. Yeah. Just for things I mentioned, characters are great. The way the narrative connects to the different levels and characters' traumas to the levels when you go into their brains and all that was just top notch. And compared to Psychonauts 1, I think this had kind of a more of a serious story going on, and had some better like emotional beats. I love it.
Hell yeah. I need to play those games too. My favorite story narrative, it's interesting, and I don't even mean this in a bad way, but 2021 was definitely not a strong narrative year for me, but I think that's fine, because I look at a lot of the games on my list, and like they have, I think some of these are way more interesting gameplay wise and way more unique gameplay wise than some other games. But narrative is just not something that like really struck out to me. So my favorite narrative is actually for Overboard, is what I'm going to give my favorite narrative. Which if you don't know much about Overboard, it's kind of this it's this like just text-based adventure game where you're playing you're playing like the wife of this really scummy businessman guy, and you're on a cruise ship, and you actually at the very beginning of the game your character pushes him overboard and kills him, and then
Get it?
so the whole game is you trying to get away with it, and so you immediately realize like, okay, certain people saw like certain things happen, so you need to talk to them and like try to like go at a certain place at a certain time to like make sure that people don't piece it together. So like you go to different points of the ship, and when you go somewhere, like time passes by, so like the first few times you do it you're going to get caught because you don't know what you're looking for. But then eventually you start to realize like, okay, this person, I can kind of convince them to get in on it with me. This other person, you know, I can do this and this or whatever. You know, like it's really, really, really fun to piece together. It's like me and my sister had a really good time playing it. It reminded me of like Obra Dinn, like piecing things together, but it's a lot more low stress than Obra Dinn and everything. It's not super hard. But the way they told that narrative and how you like slowly unpack this whole crew and like all the crazy things that are going on, I think was really neat and very cool. And then my runner-up is going to be Final Fantasy VII Intermission, because just, you know, again, the arc with Yuffie, I think, you know, by the end, the way that it tied back into 7 Remake story in a very cool, interesting way, I think it was a very good way to set up.
Give me a remake 2, damn it.
Give me a remake 2 now.
Fuck FF16, give me that.
That is correct.
Yeah, so my favorite narrative, shout outs to Inscription. That was a really strong narrative, but I got to give it to Nier Replicant. Again, kind of what Jeff was saying, the way that game kind of plays with its structure of repetition, kind of mundanity in a way is very... And again, it's not going to be something that everyone is going to like kind of vibe with, but I really vibe with it. I think it really speaks to the game's very pastoral sort of setting. And I think through the repetition and as the plot kind of continues and you keep experiencing these really tragic moments over and over again, it's almost creating this, and in my opinion, like this strong sense of like loss of innocence, a loss of simplicity. And you start to kind of... I think the characters themselves, as well as you, kind of like keep thinking back to like the earlier portions in the game that you can't go back through to and do anything different because the game doesn't repeat those sections. The way it just uses its structure to kind of reinforce its narrative of just like the way people change, the way again, like this loss of innocence sort of narrative, I think is really powerful. And the way it kind of uses its structure to reinforce that, I think is really great.
Oh yeah.
I think for me, it's gonna be, yeah. I mean, I wasn't actually in love with any of these stories. I thought they were all fine, but I think at the top I would put Ratchet and Clank for some of the reasons that Darby, I guess you were talking about, you liking the characters. I like the situations they were put in with Rivet and Clank, and then Ratchet and Kit having to get along, get to know each other. And also actually enjoyed Dr. Nefarious being a legitimate bad guy for once. And,
be a threat.
actually almost winning. Yeah. So I thought it was clever. I wasn't totally in love with the game overall. It was fun, but I did enjoy the story. I guess runner-up would be Guardians, but honestly, the more I think about it, I enjoyed just being with the characters way more than I appreciated the story in Guardians. The story was fine, and you know, I guess the main driving point with Peter Quill was good, but I think the overall religious kind of story wasn't quite up my alley. But
All right. Favorite art style / art direction. Let's see.
Easiest category in this whole thing. It shouldn't see other people's, but
Runners up, Psychonauts 2, very good. Not the technical showpiece, but art style definitely carries it. You are with the Tim Burton-esque style.
Yeah.
Guardians was good. I think the style with the planets and everything and creatures and stuff were pretty strong, and just the environments we went to were honestly stronger than I kind of thought they were going to be. So that was nice. Deathloop definitely has a nice style to it. Just with all the nice colors and the general feel and all that. The environments are cool. Character designs are, I think, strong for like the main characters and all that. Just everything looks cool and stylized. Direct runner-up, Ratchet and Clank. Yeah. Technical showpiece. Pixar movie, all that kind of stuff. Everything has been said.
Yes.
First one might be a weird one. I put Chicory.
Okay, I'm gonna have some qualms with a game you didn't mention, but you go ahead.
What game did I? Okay,
You go ahead. You'll see.
Oh, snap.
I might have forgotten that. I kind of have Chicory because I just kind of like, in a way, the art, just because the art style of it, the kind of art is kind of the game, and it shouldn't win because it let me be in charge of the coloring in a way. So
That's just Jeff saying that he's an amazing artist.
Yes,
That's what he's saying right there.
Yes, truly fantastic art, but I just kind of love the simplicity of it and just the simplistic color book style, and the characters are all cute and that kind of stuff, and just the way, I don't know, there's something that just adds to it when you can kind of shape the world with as far as coloring and stuff. About the same thing with like Tearaway with the stuff you can do to influence the world, and that just kind of carries over to Chicory. Darby, what did you think I forgot?
Number one with a bullet for me is Guilty Gear Strive.
Oh yeah,
like not even close. Not even
I forgot.
close.
I'm sorry. Forgive me.
It's all good. It's all good. That is the best looking fighting game that I've ever seen in my entire life. One of the best looking games I think I've ever seen in my life. Just seeing that in motion, seeing those characters animate and everything. It doesn't have the fighting game thing you're used to of just kind of like. It's like everything just like flows. It looks like you're watching this movie fight scene going when you're watching a 2D fighter. It's unreal. And the shadows, the thing, like just even if you care nothing about fighting games, just go look at some Guilty Gear Strive. It's just beautiful.
Well, Dari, look at what I named. My taste transcend anime. I'm above it. Me.
So I am the true anime fan now. Like I am. All right.
Yeah.
Good. Glad to know I've overtaken. And my runner-up is Ratchet and Clank, which is also in any year where like Guilty Gear wasn't sitting right there, I think Ratchet and Clank would be number one for me. But Guilty Gear is just too good. But Ratchet and Clank is also more from the technical, like look at this Vista showpiece. It was just phenomenal. It was really stunning stuff that I'm just so glad. I think it's so cool that's what they used to show off the PS5 like first, was something like Ratchet and Clank, which is cool.
Yeah, I think for me this year, there were like a lot of games that had, for me, really striking art styles. So I do want to give a shout out to Mundan, which is a first-person horror game that uses kind of a pencil sketchbook kind of art style, which is very memorable for me. But my favorite art style is from a game called Inkslinger, which is it's a Danish, I want to say like typing / like text adventure game, but it uses portraits and like real paintings, I think, from like the Danish National Museum, and it kind of tweaks it a little bit, giving it sort of a pointillist kind of style to the portraits, which is a little bit like the art style in Oberdin. But the way that the portraits and then just the general presentation of the game kind of comes together, because it's set in a fictional world, but your character, she works for a workshop whose job it is to like write letters or poems or whatever for clients. And so the way it's set up, the way like when you hit the basically the keys on your keyboard and the way it kind of translates to the page is very striking, and kind of the way everything comes together to kind of create this very ominous, foreboding kind of 19th century look to it is really striking for me. So Inkslinger, I think, had the best art style.
I also in the recommendations got recommended a game called Milk Inside a Bag of Milk Inside a Bag of Milk, and it looks like a trip.
Oh, you never heard of Milk Inside a Bag of Milk Inside a Bag of Milk?
No, can't say that.
Where have you been?
Horror visual novel. Let's go. And it looks like an anime girl's looking down on me.
Wow.
We all know that's my fetish.
Well, Jeff will be right back. Whew. All right, Will, you got any for this? Where are we on favorite art style?
Yeah.
Hello.
Okay.
Hello.
And we're back.
What do you think about art, Will?
Do you hate art, Will? I think Will
Love
hates art.
Are you an arty?
I think I think I'll go for Deathloop on this one. I mean, I think a lot has already been said about the basic '60s kind of pop art aesthetic of Deathloop, which I really enjoyed in just the menus and the, I guess, cutscenes you would call them. But even like while playing the game, I think I thought the style, the choices being made with having all of the enemies that you're facing wearing these masks, you not knowing really who is who, it's just these nameless faces. I think that all of Deathloop had just a really cool stylistic touch that I think Arcane is just generally good at. So,
Style for days.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Favorite soundtrack / score. Scorn.
Scorn,
Sponsored
an
by
atmosphere, horror adventure.
All right, let's see. Runners up, Deathloop. Just a nice, just a good soundtrack to go along with that aesthetic. Felt right. Chicory had a very nice little soundtrack, a little more subdued compared to some other ones.
Made
it
by
was
the
nice.
Celeste.
Yes,
Composer.
it is fantastic. Come on, Guardians got to get a mention with that soundtrack. Come on, man. Just you just do a huddle up and never give you up starts playing away. You just mow down a bunch of aliens. It's perfection. Persona 5 Strikers, definitely. It obviously it had a lot of songs for Persona 5, but had really good with the remixes. It has a lot of very good original tracks, which are excellent. But top one's got to be Nier Replicant in my mind. I think the Nier franchise has probably two of my favorite soundtracks ever. So this isn't surprising. Like, come on.
Yeah, Jacob, do you want to go ahead and jump in here? Because I'm sure.
I was gonna say, I'm there with Jeff. Like
Yeah, you got it,
that is a top tier soundtrack. Like Song of the Ancients is just
That alone, it's enough.
Yeah, like it's just a really just great dynamic soundtrack that just has such a style to it. And then like I think the areas too, like the song from like the Airy or when you visit the different locations, like the themes for those are just phenomenal and do a great job of like reinforcing like how these like little villages are all different from each other. So yeah, just a really amazing soundtrack.
So with Nier, like I know Nier wins like the soundtrack every single time. And I believe this. What is it about it that makes it just like that much better and everything else? Do they just use a bunch of different instruments and stuff that people don't normally use, or is it just very, I don't know, creative with the?
I think it's like the songs are just very well done. They do. I think there's similarities in a lot of ways to like I guess like other JRPG soundtracks, but it just. The way for me at least, the way that they use kind of the fictional language into a lot of the song vocals, I think is also really great. And it's just like
it's
a
kinda,
style to it.
Yeah, and they kind of just add to a lot of scenes, like Jacob was saying, when you go to an area or just like with story scenes or whatever. That I don't know, just for some reason to me they add more to it than a lot of even its best contemporaries do. Like even like Persona and Final Fantasy like 7 and stuff, like obviously top tier soundtracks, but just for every reason I can't put like at that point too, Nier just kind of goes to the next step for me, even if it's just in comparison.
Yeah, it's like when I think of a scene, I can think of the exact song that's playing in that scene, which to me I guess is a sign of a good soundtrack.
Yeah. I can't remember what song was, but just for a Nier thing in general, Jacob would know what I'm talking about. In Nier Automata, where you finish Emil's side missions and you're underground, and now I know what that place actually is.
Yes.
And that song plays. I didn't have any like connection to it, but it's I think it's the only time I can remember I just sat there and listened to that song was done playing. Like, I can't remember if it stopped, but I sat there for a good few minutes because it was that good that space.
I have that type of situation a lot, but
yeah, and I mean, like, and Nier also is a game that does the thing where it will shift genres on you, and you know, there are, I guess, minor spoilers, but there are sections of Nier that are just straight up just like text adventure sections, and so you're just reading text, but there's music to accompany those sections, and the way that they use music to kind of convey the scene that's happening in the text on screen is also really well done.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I just want a little bit more. I just know that like everyone, it's across the board, everyone who plays Nier is like, that soundtrack is, you know, just next level shit.
I've never played either of those games, but I have listened to City Ruins and Vague Hope from Nier Automata more times than I can count on my Spotify playlist. So
good, man.
I do love the soundtrack.
Well, my favorite soundtrack of the year, unsurprisingly, is Final Fantasy VII Intergrade. The best soundtrack ever made got a nice bonus EP. Basically,
hey, Darby, remember when we were supposed to go see songs from that live?
Yeah,
you got canceled the day before.
I don't know if y'all know about that. We were supposed to go to an Final Fantasy VII Remake orchestra concert, and they got canceled for COVID 2 days before. So bummed. So freaking bummed.
Oh, it feels bad.
Yeah, and it's going to get replaced with a general Final Fantasy concert, not 7.
Just fine, but it's not the same. Well, I'll get over it. But yeah, Intergrade's soundtrack, like, this is, I mean, all throughout the regular remake soundtrack, you could just tell they were having fun with this. They were like, this is a very iconic soundtrack, but we're not going to be afraid to get our hands in there and, you know, kind of noodle with it some. And like, we're going to have the normal version that you're expecting, but then we're going to have a freaking jazz version. Here's a metal version. Here's this like weird electronic version. They do all this stuff. And then here they were straight up like, let's just play some jazz.
Yeah,
let's just play some jazz as you run around Midgar or whatever. And it doesn't necessarily sound like a Final Fantasy VII thing, but it kind of fits still. And it's just like this crazy, wild, all over the place jazz music that I think just like, you're just sitting there beating up on bad guys while this like chaotic jazz is playing. And like, that was definitely one of my favorite memories of the year, is that early on in remake, just running around, you know, frantic combat, frantic music. It was great. It was wonderful. And then my runner-up is Guilty Gear Strive. You know, that's some good butt rock, man. That's some good butt rock. Yeah, that soundtrack knows exactly what it's trying to be. It is cheesy as all hell, but it is very good. And there are some songs that I don't care for as much, but there are some like really, really banger ass songs in that soundtrack. Especially May's theme is like top tier. That one's really good.
Yeah, I was going to say the pairing of anime and butt rock, the strength of that pairing cannot be denied.
Yeah.
It's a match made in heaven.
Simply cannot deny it. All right, Jacob, did you have runner-ups? We kind of hijacked
just
yours.
shout out to Inscription. That soundtrack also, again, just the way it adds to the atmosphere of the game, the way that it just kind of informs that spooky haunted forest setting is just really memorable for me. And then when you get into the boss fights and the way the music will kick in for those sections, and the way that the songs, without like spoiling like stuff, the way the sound effects or the things that get kind of looped in the song for those boss fights kind of inform what that boss fight is really well done, and kind of adds to the horror, I guess, of that game. It's a lot of like unnerving sounds or kind of like dissonant twanging banjos, like that sort of stuff. So it's also again a soundtrack that adds a lot, I think, to the setting and the vibe that game is going for.
Mm-hmm. Mr. William?
I don't think I have anything for this one.
That's fair. That's fine.
All right. Favorite or overlooked gameplay mechanic?
Just heads up, I don't have anything for this.
All righty. I have on here for runner-up time travel mechanics in Chris Tales. I don't think they lived up to its complete potential as far as how they worked in battle and everything. but I recognize, especially after the fact, this is a smaller team. This might have been their first game. And this is a crazy idea that I kind of hope, because Chris Sales is a really good game, that they kind of stick to it and improve going into it. Because just the way it works, like sending people in the past and the future and stuff, as far as like combining them with abilities, was a lot of fun, even if they didn't live up to complete potential. And for the winner, this is all encompassing. The co-op mechanics in It Takes Two.
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah, absolutely. It was great.
Just the way that game handles co-op stuff, like it's being a game that just revolves around it, is just second to none in my eyes. Just all the crazy things that happen. It's like, I was thinking maybe I could pick one, but it's like they're all so good. It's hard to pick one. It's just the way you just keep on going, and every hour or so you get something new, and it just works.
Yeah, I kind of went through the same thing when I was looking at this category. I thought about like picking my favorite part of It Takes Two, but it just feels wrong because it's like it's all amazing. Like it's just, I would rather just gush about it later. You know, it's like,
I get that. So I don't have a runner-up, but my favorite gameplay mechanic is just the way that you can kind of make or fuse cards in Inscription and just kind of break the game open. It's really satisfying. It's Inscription, if you don't know, it's basically a rogue. You can describe it as like a roguelike card builder, but it's not like one of those games where it's really concerned about. I mean, the base game, the base card game, like just whips, but it's also a game that's very much about being unfair or about giving you the tools to break and exploit the game, and the way it does that is very satisfying. The way that you can just make an ungodly card that will just wreck a lot of the encounters or the game's difficulty is well done and well deserved when that happens to you. So yeah, just any of the ways that you can play with the rules or the mechanics of Inscription is my favorite gameplay mechanic.
hell yes.
Got one, Will?
Nothing from me.
All right, moving on to favorite weapon.
Yeah, our category is coming up, Will, soon. Me and you, we can unload. Best old game, it's coming, man.
Yep. Oh, yeah. Okay. Runners up for me. The Def Kick and No More Heroes 3. It's a nice little chip thing for his little death glove. It was just fun to use it, suddenly teleport to the enemy and drop kick them. It's just a good feeling. Get through all the bullshits, drop kick them. Another runner up is These Hands and Hitman 3 VR. just using them to assassinate people. Yep, is a lot of fun. Hitman 3 VR is a lot of fun. But now I'll be able to, with the power of PC, actually use Move controller shit. I got that shit downloaded. Gonna try it soon. Let's go.
Oh, snap.
Whoa.
Favorite weapon is the paintbrush and chicory. Just, it's all encompassing things. Just be able to color the world and using it to solve puzzles. And then when you use it in boss fights to wreck some scrubs and all that. Just a nice little fun weapon.
Bash some kids with some paint.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm not super enthusiastic about my picks here or whatever, but my favorite weapon, I had the Warmonger in Ratchet and Clank. I just really like it's not even like a crazy weapon, but it's just a rocket launcher that just like blew people away. It was very fun. I would just like zip around and bash people with that, and that was super duper fun. The only two runner-ups that I could even think of really was Yuffie's Shuriken. That was very fun, especially throwing it at someone and then being able to like zip straight towards them. I thought that was a really awesome mechanic. And then I'll say Mila Rage's hair and Guilty Gear. She's straight up Shantae, beats people with her hair, and that's very fun. Very fun for me.
Yeah, so I want to give a shout out to the Lance from Monster Hunter Rise. It's the weapon that I got into, and that was very satisfying to learn. But my favorite weapon is a card that I had in Inscription, which I'll kind of dance around the context of that, but I'll describe what this card did and why it was just my favorite weapon. Is that the card had an inherent ability called Brittle, which basically means that like when you play the card and after it attacks, it basically dies. So it can only attack once. But I slapped an ability on there called I think Unkillable. So basically, like, or I think it's called Unkillable, but basically, like, when the card dies, it's returned to your hand, and so you can continue playing it. And then I also put another ability on top of that basically when it dies, I can put a shield that will block a hit on a different card. So I was able to like infinitely summon this card and infinitely generate shields for my other cards that I could not continue summoning. And that card got me like through so many difficult encounters. Like when that card came out, I was like, oh shit, here we go. Like it's over.
time, baby. Let's go.
He found the cheesy strat. He found the loophole.
Yeah, God bless that card and just the ridiculousness of it.
But see, Inscription, that card is probably going to start like begging for you to stop using it because it's like you're killing its family or something. It's like,
don't care. It's all about the game. I was gonna say, like, sorry, man. Like,
them's the breaks.
Them's the breaks. You're too good.
Oh Lord.
So, on my way to the Platinum Trophy in Ratchet and Clank, I came across a trophy that I had to turn, I don't know, 50 enemies into ferns using the Topiary Sprinkler. And I was like, I don't want to use this weapon. It's dumb. And then I started using it for the trophy and was like, I love this thing. So my weapon of 2021 is the Topiary Sprinkler.
Is this just an advertisement for trophies? Is this him trying to sell trophies? Like, see, this is why I should show the trophy.
We lose him.
Uh-oh.
Oh, no.
But look at that face, though.
All right, Jeff, just say what you think he was going to say about the Topiary Sprinkler.
He really likes green things.
Exactly right.
He eats his veggies.
Okay.
And he ate his enemies afterwards. They are now veggies.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does that sum it up? Can you hear us well?
Uh-oh.
Oh.
We lost him.
He's been turned into a card.
He's had enough.
My back.
Yes. Hi. Hey, can you hear us? Hey, can you hear us? Well, maybe we should.
Oh, it's too late.
Maybe we should move on while he figures this out.
Move on to his category.
Yeah, I'm about to say this is the Will category, but maybe 3 people will go before him, so maybe he'll be ready by then.
All right. Favorite old game. Well, my favorite is by default the only old game I actually played in 2021.
Which is hilarious because that's like I have like more old games than new games.
Yeah. Life is Strange 2. I made the decision I'm going to play this game before True Colors came out, or I wouldn't play it, and that's what I did. I sat down, played it, and it was excellent.
That's what I vowed too, and that's what I'm gonna do too. But I just had done either.
Yes. Is Will back? You just can.
Hello?
Okay.
All right.
Okay. All right. Cool. Good.
I don't know what happened.
All right. Old games that I play. I'm just gonna go through some of the other ones that I played before I talk about the number one. Honorable mentions. Forgotten Anne is a game that I played at the very beginning of this year, and I was on Steam. I saw like a screenshot of it and I was like, that looks like a Miyazaki film. That looks interesting. I clicked on it. It was on sale for like $2. And it was like very, very positive reviews. And I scrolled through it. It was like, this straight up looks like a Miyazaki movie. It was like, I'm going to buy this, sure. And I bought it and played it. And it was a really, really, really good game. And it straight up is like, it's very much set up like a Miyazaki film. And it's, you're a normal human girl, like around, I don't know, like teenager age. And you live in this entire like city that's made up all of like inanimate objects that can move and talk and everything. It's like Beauty and the Beast type of thing, where it's like a bunch of objects that can move and everything. And they're basically in this whole city that like operates, but you are kind of the enforcer. There's this like other human guy that's supposed to be your father at the top that's basically like this ruler over the city, and it's very much kind of reminiscent of like Nazi Germany type of thing, where it's like you're checking everyone's like are you good, are you like you check their credentials and papers, everything. So people are kind of everyone you encounter is like trying to act like they're in good with you, but there's also this like rebel group of objects that want to rebel against you. So a lot of it is like deducing whether people are with you or not. and then like you have to make a lot of decisions that are like very not black and white, where it's like I don't know what I should do here, and there's a lot of cool puzzles and everything, and just the arc of it. It is probably, this would be my narrative of the year for sure if I could vote it for this year, and I think everyone should go play it, because if you like Miyazaki movies at all, this is straight up. It is a video game version of one of those, and I don't want to say too much because it's just really, really good, and it's not that long. So
What's it called again, Darby?
Forgotten Anne, and it was super cheap, super duper cheap on Steam. It's like there's really no combat. It's all just like puzzles and like choices and text things. But and the voice acting is also super duper good. It's like everyone's voice acted. They all have like these British accents, but like everyone's done really, really well. It's like a hidden gem. Like I saw everyone who played it liked it. I don't think it was that popular.
Currently $20.
Yeah, it was a lot less than that when I got it.
I can't remember if you said this, but it's published by Square Enix.
Yes, it does. Yeah, I think it's made by a smaller studio, but it's published.
It also has a demo, at least on Steam, for people to try.
Okay. I think it's worth $20. I got it for significantly less than that, but I think it is worth $20. I highly recommend it. All right, so the other ones I won't spend as much time on. 3D World, phenomenal. Like it shoots right up there to one of my favorite Mario games of all
We need
time.
to finish it.
Especially, but like we at least got the credits and got a little bit into the end game, and like playing, having a Mario game like that you can play co-op. I think it's a phanomenal game. Like it really is. Like that game is underrated somehow, even though
I've been banging that drum for years.
like it might be my second favorite Mario game out under Odyssey. I mean, so that or 64. It's legitimately that high for me. It's phenomenal. I played a little bit of Valheim. That was fun. That was a fun lazy Sunday with Alex. I wouldn't mind getting back to that a little bit. I played a lot of Fortnite recently, which has actually been a lot of fun. It's actually been a lot of fun. That was mostly this year, but I think I might have went into last year. So
got a lot of dubs, boys.
We have gotten a lot of dubs. I mean, the game is like actually really well made and really good, and like the crossovers and stuff like that. How many different like people you see and how much is going on in the map. It's like it's easy to be cynical about with it just being pervasive everywhere.
The most popular game,
right?
Yeah.
But it is legitimately a lot of fun, and I totally get how people just play that, because there's just a lot going on.
Darby is dangerous. They just added. I think they just added Kate Bishop, and I'm like,
what you fall down this rabbit hole for? This rabbit hole. And last, League of Legends, I'm still playing it like crazy. It's still the game I play the absolute most. That's the game that's changed my gaming taste the absolute most. And now I've gotten like a whole bunch of other people into it. So I am spreading the evil dark word. And then the last game that made 2021 survivable for me was Animal Crossing. I like really, really loved playing Animal Crossing as I'm like drifting out to bed or something. It's just a nice cozy blanket that I could always count on being there. With just like it's kind of nice playing a game with like there's no goal. You're just kind of just vibing. You're just chilling out.
goals to pay off your fucking debt.
But my absolute number one is Return of the Obra Dinn. That game is instantly one of my favorite games of all time, and I think
hell yeah,
everyone should go play that game. Especially, I recommend playing it with someone else. I played it with my sister because it's a very big thought puzzle game, and I think two heads are better than one when it comes to this. Because you're deducing this ship, like you're deducing how everyone died on the ship. Everyone in this merchant ship died, and you're kind of like playing back through their deaths mostly through audio, but then it'll like freeze frame and you'll like see the moment that whatever person died, and you can kind of the art style is very cool, but it's like kind of minimalistic in as far as like you can only make out certain things. So you're trying to deduce, okay, this person was here at this point, and he was here at this point, and then you go to the next scene and say, okay, he wasn't here, where did he go? And then the next one is, okay, oh, I can go down here, now I can see he's there. And you're slowly piecing together who all these people are and how they died. And it's probably the most unique video game I've ever played, with just I've played a lot of puzzle games, but this one, like, it respects your intelligence. It goes places that you wouldn't expect a puzzle game to go, and like just the steps it expects you to walk down. It's very hard to get to, but once you get to it, you feel like the rush that you feel is better than like any other puzzle game has ever given me.
Yeah, the deduction tactics that it wants you to use is really it pulls all the stops, I think.
Darby, I think at some point it'd be fun. So they came in 2018 where to rank on that list for you.
Ooh, that's a
was
rough
gonna
year. That's
All
hard.
right, that's another discussion.
I was gonna say game of the year for 2018.
I'm about to say, I was about to ask you. I
I-
thought I won your GOTY.
I totally get it, dude. I totally get it. And like it's a game. It's one of those games. I think if I was playing it by myself, I wouldn't have enjoyed it nearly as much. But it wasn't just like my sister was taking it. I mean, my sister's smarter than me, but like I definitely. We each had moments where like one of us was stumped and the other one would be like, wait a minute, I think this, try this, and I don't know, like this and Baba Is You makes me appreciate puzzle games more than any other thing.
Well, sorry, Jacob. I'm about to say this as a segue. I know it's kind of skipping you, but you played Jacob's 2018 GOTY. If I remember correctly, Will played Darby and I's 2018 GOTY.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, let's me and Will are the two big. This is our category, so we might as well. Like, I don't feel bad about talking that
No, go
much because
ahead.
this is our
Go
category.
first.
But Will, that's
Yeah,
it for me.
please.
You go ahead.
All right. Well, before we get to your GOTY, I'll go through a few others that I enjoyed over this year. I want to call out a couple of side scrollers that I really, really liked. Grease. I don't know which one it is.
I think it's Grease.
Was very affecting to me. If we're talking about soundtracks, I think that soundtrack is phenomenal. For a game that has such minimal story, it has an incredible art aesthetic, and the soundtrack all just kind of melds into something that I think was pretty weirdly emotional. So I definitely recommend Gris. The other side scroller that I really enjoyed was Little Nightmares. That was the first time I played that. I really want to get into the second one, but that just the narrative of Little Nightmares. It had a lot of surprising moments, just stuff I didn't see coming. It actually reminded me a lot of, what's one of the Miyazaki films where there's like they're like just feasting all the time.
Princess
is it Spirited
Mononoke,
Away?
like
Oh,
the
Spirited
things?
Away.
Or, okay.
Yeah, I can
Spirited
see
Away.
that. Yeah, I can see that comparison.
Yeah.
There was
That's
that's all I could think about at certain points was Spirited Away. So it was really good. Let's see. Even though I didn't play too many 2021 calendar games, I still played quite a few newer games since the PS5 came out. So some of those were Bug Snacks, which was hilarious, and
Yeah.
I got the platinum in that. That was pretty fun. Maquette was a good puzzle game that made me think in many new ways. Have y'all played that yet?
No, I saw about it when it first came out, but I hadn't seen
It's
a lot since then.
it's interesting. So you have to. There's like 3 different levels where if you move something into this like play sandcastle, a bigger version appears outside of where you are. And then you can actually walk outside of your kind of like sand pit or whatever, and there's a bigger version of the sand pit. So there's just 3 different levels of interactivity where you're kind of making things smaller or making things bigger to figure out the puzzles. And the go ahead.
Well, I'm sorry, this isn't allowed. Maquette is a 2021 game. I'd like you to take this seriously.
Whoa!
Wait a minute.
Whoa!
There's no way. That felt like so long ago.
It was March.
Dang!
Dang.
I played 5 new games this year. That's on my list.
Wipe it from the list. Wipe it from this list. It does not belong here.
Delete the last couple minutes.
We'll fix it in post. Forget everything I said. Let's see. So I played Spider-Man Miles Morales. I don't have a whole lot to say, but it was more Spider-Man, and I really enjoyed it. Plague Tale Innocence.
Playing that right now.
Blade vibes. Yep, it's pretty good, especially on PS5. They did a lot with the DualSense that made it a lot more fun, in my opinion, than if it was on PS4.
Ooh, I forgot all that Wilson stuff. Playing on PC.
Let's see.
Feel them rats
I guess
crawling over your hand.
Just a couple others. I played Concrete Genie. That was okay, but I played it. I don't know. I put it on here.
It existed.
Rage 2 I played at the very beginning of the year, and it was just dumb fun.
Yeah.
So, and then I guess the last one, I didn't say Astro's Playroom. Was obviously the first thing I played and one of my favorite games. If I'm just ranking all the games I played this year.
Hell yeah, it is.
Oh yeah.
So good.
And Rainbow Six Siege. I'm still playing with all my buddies from high school and college.
Nice.
So
Nice.
now we'll get into Final Fantasy VII, which was great, but also really annoying. It was good for like 25 hours, and then the last 5 hours or whatever, I was like, I don't know if I can do this anymore.
It definitely strings that thing out for all it's worth, by the end. Obviously, I was eating up every second of it, but I also 100% understand and agree with.
I think it's just I felt like there was a lot of false endings. So I was like, oh, okay, I'm reaching the end. And then it was just kept on going. So I think I just got faked out a few times.
Yeah.
But I did enjoy it a lot. The combat's awesome.
Well, didn't you read the internet? The game's not over yet.
You're right.
Yeah,
you're right.
you played a third of a game, so it's not worth it. Well,
that's it for me.
Jacob, you got any
Okay.
old games?
Yeah, I wanted to play more old games this year, but it just didn't work out that way. There was long stretches of this year where I just wasn't playing any games at all. But thankfully, I think my favorite old game kind of makes up for that because technically it is actually 51 old games all in one. And that is Clubhouse Games 51 Worldwide Classics.
Got 'em.
Yeah, there it
For
is.
the Nintendo Switch.
Hell yeah.
I just love this like collection of, again, classic games on the Nintendo Switch. It's like it's way better than it has. Like it's a way better package and presentation than it has any right to be. And it's just like a fun thing to queue up and just play a few rounds of like Yahtzee or checkers, just like on a whim.
What's been your
and also
favorite one? What's been your favorite of the 51?
Rank them all for me.
That's the rest of the podcast.
Yeah. I mean, definitely to go off of that, I think like a great thing about this collection is that it does a really good job of introducing you and teaching you kind of games that you've probably never played before. Like I've never played Riichi Mahjong before, which is, I guess I'd describe it as like a mix of like poker and gin rummy with like a billion rules. But that's my favorite game in that collection. And that's what I really got into through this Clubhouse Games package.
Nice.
And I've also been like getting into chess recently, which is just like I did not expect that, but it's just a really well done game. And each like the little games, like parlor games or traditional games that are in it, like they each have kind of bespoke kind of presentations to them that really do a great job of like recalling kind of memories of playing checkers with like your parent or dominoes with like your brother or sister or what have you, or playing cards at camp. Like it does a really good job of kind of tapping into those memories, like the nostalgia that I think a lot of us have with like traditional games in that sense. So yeah, Clubhouse Games 51 Worldwide Classics is like an unexpected like banger of a game.
Heck yeah. That's awesome.
All right.
I realized I forgot to say what my actual favorite old game was.
Okay, I just figured you didn't decide on the favorite. That you just had a list.
It was I forgot to mention Red Dead Redemption 2.
Yeah, that was my segue.
yeah.
And then I was questioning, wait, did he play it 2021?
That was the whole segue.
Yeah,
That was the whole segue.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was confused too because I thought you played that.
Yeah.
I forgot to. Well, tell us a little bit about that. I mean, come on. It was me and Jeff's game of the year. Like we had a slightly controversial opinion that year.
Yeah, I thought he misheard my 2018 and that was Final Fantasy because that was both.
So you got to back us up a little bit because we were out in the fire back then. You got like it's like the game's actually phenomenal, right?
Oh, absolutely. I think it just didn't hit at the right time whenever it first came out. But for whatever reason, I was determined to try it again because I loved the first one. And I'm so glad I did because even though it is slow and meandering and sometimes annoying, it is so good. And it's just a perfect cowboy sim with an incredible, it has no right to be so incredible of a story.
Yup.
So,
Absolutely.
yeah, it's amazing.
Absolutely.
Arthur Morgan, 10 out of 10.
Hell yeah. See, the Red Dead Redemption, if it wasn't clear before, definitively the Nerds at Large 2018 game of the year.
It's on the Wall of Fame.
Yep.
Second God of War. Okay.
Now move on before Will can dispute that, because I don't know how he feels.
Biggest
about it.
surprise. Yeah, we got our next couple categories where there's a good chance half of us don't have an answer for, and that's okay. Yeah, won't spend too long on this. Runner up for me for biggest surprise, It Takes Two. Not that I didn't expect it to be good. I just expected to have another game in between before Hazelight was able to get to the quality of It Takes Two.
Yeah,
I figured they were going to get there at some point, but I figured we at least have another game in between for this kind of co-op game. And what they made was phenomenal. My top biggest surprise was Guardians of the Galaxy. Like I said, I was more high on it actually than a lot of people with that debut showing. But I didn't expect it to be as good to me as it was. So yeah, pleasantly surprised in that.
Yeah, I would say like my biggest surprise of anything I played this year was probably Forgotten Anne. Like I said, just like the absolute like finest random game on Steam to be that good, but obviously not a 2021 game. But so for 2021, I would echo what you said about It Takes Two. I had very high hopes for that, especially after A Way Out. I was like, I think this is probably going to be a step up from A Way Out, and I really enjoyed A Way Out, so that's going to be great. I didn't expect for it to be like, oh, like y'all literally pitched a perfect game. It was just like, there is just no fluff in this. It goes from banger idea to banger idea. Like, I cannot say enough good things about that game. So yeah, I did not expect, like, now suddenly Hazelight, I'm like, okay, you are like up there in the top echelon of like game developers that I'm just gonna day one be at the door for, and like I think that's just so cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. More on them later.
Yeah, I took this category more as like biggest like surprising moment in a game, and so I'll just keep it very, very simple. Just the second half to Inscription, what that game becomes, the way it changes from just a creepy card game against like a insane serial killer in a cabin, and what it turns into, and what that story, though that narrative kind of becomes, is just really amazing and really surprising, and then the whole ARG around the game itself is also insane. So yeah, Inscription is definitely like the biggest surprise for me.
Will?
I think the biggest surprise for me this year, I guess I kind of have two. One is that Guardians was actually better than everyone expected. I mean, I think when people first saw that game, it did not look very polished. And I think I even responded to someone on Reddit saying, like, I'll be happy if it's like above a 6. I don't think anyone had especially high hopes for it. So it was pretty awesome when not only was it good, a lot of people thought it was great. My other one is that I actually really got into Deathloop. I played Dishonored several years ago now, but I didn't play Dishonored 2. I didn't play Prey. But I got Dishonored, and I was kind of determined to give it my all to really, really try it. And it took a while. I think the first couple hours are kind of tutorial, but once you get past that, it's pretty great. So I'm surprised and happy that I did get into Deathloop.
Yeah, I really enjoy it. I need to go back, especially if they're on Game Pass, and play the other Arcane games like Dishonored 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Biggest disappointment.
I wonder what this could be.
I only have one.
I have one too, and I'm just gonna let you talk for me. You go ahead.
Fucking 12 minutes. What a piece of shit.
That's my biggest disappointment too. Even though I didn't play it, but
I mean, the first part of it's fine and everything, but then, well, the ending, without saying what it is, total shit. Ruins everything. And even then, and this was an initial worry about the game with the time loop stuff getting kind of grindy and boring and that kind of stuff. It did do that, and with the way they marketed the game, you expect, oh, you can do a lot of things to get out of this loop. It's a pretty straightforward path. And and not completely satisfying. The way you do it, and then the ending twist is just terrible. The only game I played that I would consider not good this year out of the 25, 30 is whatever I played.
Yeah, just reading about what the twist is in that game, it's just like really like you went there and that's your big revelation. It just seems an extremely disappointing game for, I guess, all the prestige and like the hype behind it. It's so many showcases.
At least,
wow, that is disappointing.
At least I played on Game Pass and didn't actually pay for it. Right side.
Yeah, I just played it for like an hour and I was already bored to death, and I watched the rest of it on YouTube.
Well, first after me explaining.
After I heard some bad things, and then I heard everything Jeff had to say. I'm like, oh god, it's like I'm already like really bored with the like puzzle solving and the just like I already hated having this conversation with your wife or girlfriend or whatever over and over again. Like their dialogue was just so wooden. Like the voice acting's not even good in this. Like Daisy Ridley and Willem Dafoe are fine actors, are amazing actors by themselves, but like in this it was just like every time you would talk to someone, it was like obvious these lines were just recorded completely away from each other and made no sense together. It like, for all the hype this game got, even from production value, it seemed poor.
Also, gotta say it again. The fact this was nominated for Best Indie, but Chicory wasn't, is a fucking crime.
Yeah, I don't know. And the story just seems like it thinks a lot higher of itself than it is. I mean, like, I'm okay with stories that like don't have conclusive endings and stuff like this, or don't completely tie things together. But this is just like, I don't know. It just seemed like a waste of time to me. So yeah, that's mine. Yeah, for sure.
Anyone else have anything? Not related to 12 minutes,
good,
but just for this in general.
Nah.
I mean, mine's not really related to a new game, but just a disappointment for gaming this year. I had my eyes on the Banner Saga for months on Switch, and I was like, I think it got on sale, so I was like, you know what? I think I'm just gonna get all 3 of them. And I played for 2 hours and was like, I don't think I like this game.
Oh no!
So that's my disappointment.
Well, I did the same exact thing, but like 2 years ago. But I also have all 3 Banner Saga games, and I wasn't really enjoying it.
Would that also be your biggest regret?
Yeah, I don't have anything for this.
Does anyone have anything for biggest regret? Okay, moving on.
Right, not. Yeah,
I have one.
All right.
I regret not playing Red Dead 2 in 2018.
All right, that counts.
Fair enough.
Not gonna make a timestamp for it, but
I got a favorite trailer, and it's the same as yours, Jeff. So you take it away. I feel confident.
Yeah, let me get this timestamp real quick.
I have confidence.
Yep. Yeah. So runners up, just real quick. I have the God of War Ragnarok trailer. Just getting that
very good.
shown. I think it with the other runner-up I have is just a very great like first look of a sequel trailer, just kind of immediately showing without going too into it, like just showing, not telling like what's new, but also getting you excited for the stuff from the previous game, like the way it leads into the story of one, just showing you, okay, how's it going to progress, and then all the other new
cannot wait for that game.
And also Mario plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope. Just between that cinematic and the gameplay thing shown, it's watching that again, it's like I'm just very excited because I can already tell how this is. The first one, Kingdom Battle, was already a great game, but I can already tell how this is going to improve and how this is going to be different and all that. And
Rabbid Rosalina, our queen.
Exactly. I hope regular Rosalina, that'd be cool. And obviously, favorite trailer, no surprise, it's Sora and Smash. I mean, come on.
Same for me.
Yeah. I mean, what else would it be for me? We all know.
It's just so good.
It was so perfect. It's like a Final Smash trailer with the way it was set up, going back to the announcement for Smash Ultimate, and it just the last character, and it obviously again the trailer being framed of it being the last character everyone wanted, being Sora, it being the character I wanted the most, was perfect.
Go watch me and Jeff's Smash Bros trailer rankings.
Yes,
and, we slide this in. You can, and then if you want to see where we slide this in at You can go find when Sora was announced, that podcast at the very beginning.
You can also look at my reaction if you haven't seen that yet.
Also do that. Smash trailers are like such a big part of me and Jeff's childhood, our friendship, the reason why we do this podcast, everything, the whole thing. And just ending with Sora, it just again cements that this game is just like feels like it's literally tailor made for me and Jeff, and it's crazy. It's end of an era. It's crazy. All right, does anyone else have a trailer that they...
I do not, so I'll pass it to Will if he has one.
I'll call out the Wolverine trailer from Insomniac just because of how absurd it was that was happening. It's like every frame of that trailer, I was like, is this Wolverine? Wait, is this Wolverine? And then whenever it actually shows them and the Insomniac logo, it just seems unreal. So I'm pumped for that.
Hell yeah.
All right, best or favorite gaming moment. I know this is always a weird category because sometimes you got it kind of vague not to do spoilers.
Yeah, I don't want to spoil the other people on the call on mine. So,
there's going to be one runner up that I might ask the call if they're okay with me spoiling, just because of how crazy it is.
I'm sure I'll be.
You already know what it is, so I'm not concerned about you. Runners ups. I got Life is Strange, True Colors, Chapter 3. There's one specific thing I am not going to spoil because Darby's going to play it, and he's going to love what happens. So not going to say that, but people who played know what I'm talking about. I have the ending E for Near Replicant. Just that whole thing, it being an added thing was great. I just really like what happened in there. Again, not going to spoil what happened. But it was a nice added addition to what, obviously the base story was. My other two runners up are No More Heroes 3, or based from that. This was in a trailer, so I'll say the general thing. The RPG fight in No More Heroes, where it turns into a Final Fantasy VII mainly based turn-based RPG fight. And how that goes is just fantastic. Does anyone care about No More Hero 3 spoilers?
No.
Go for it.
All right, so in the final chapter, the way it ends, to fight the final guy. You guys remember Fu, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you fight him. You beat him. He's not the true bad guy. Damon from that trailer, the little boy all grown up, is the true main bad guy. So he gets all powerful and shit and is busting things up. And then you're like falling from the sky because the building's collapsing and thing. And through a portal is the mech from Damon X Machina. It's a real Deus Ex Machina. And they even mention it being from there. And you use it to win in a quick time event, but that's not all. You go up into space, and you are on an alien planet. The spaceship or whatever thing you were in is crashed. Whatever. The stage is like a floating platform, and they're talking. It's like there's only one way to settle this: sumo. It goes out and it turns into a Super Smash Brothers fight. With the percentage and everything.
Destination?
Yeah.
Oh my god. That's great. That's
yeah,
really great.
and Suda's always wanted Travis and Smash. So he's like, okay, if you're not going to put him, I'm going to do it myself.
Put it in my game, goddammit.
Do it myself.
And that was the final battle for the game, and it was just perfection.
It's just incredible.
The one I have top is about a certain elephant.
Yeah. This is why I don't want to say, can I let y'all to play It Takes Two? Yeah, there's a certain moment that It Takes Two that y'all need to play. Y'all need to play It Takes Two. But that is also my favorite game.
Yeah. Any?
I did forget to mention a disappointment that's related to It Takes Two is that it's just slightly too difficult for my wife to play. So I'm going to have to play with someone else, which is depressing.
Yeah. There are
I'm
some
excited to play.
Yeah, there are some I could see for someone who doesn't play games at all, there's some dexterity moving around doing some other thing.
Yeah. It's like a weird thing where I get in that it's disappointing for people, but with the mechanics, if the skill floor was lower, it may not feel as good.
It's so finely
unfortunately
to do
sure,
what it
yeah.
does. Yeah, for sure.
I get people's disappointment with that for sure.
All right. That was
have?
a lot of fun, but we have quite a hefty Jeff list to get to, don't we?
Well, does anyone else have anything for the gaming moments?
We had not gone all the way around. We had just gone.
Mine's also spoilery, so I'll just shout out. It's basically the moment in Inscription when like all the pieces kind of fall into place, and you're like, wait a minute, if I like do this to this and this to this, then I can just break this whole game open and no one can stop me. And so it's like realizing that like, oh man, like, and then the game like wants you to break in that way, but like just that moment where you're like, if I put this ability with this thing and I can just do whatever I want, and like the boss can't win. I guess there's also like another moment where with the final boss, or the quotes, the final boss in Inscription, that was also great, but it's all spoilers and I'm not going to spoil that game on here. So that's all I will say on that.
Very fair. Get any, Will? All right.
Nah.
Moving on to honorable mentions. I imagine I'm the only one with them.
I did actually, Jeff. I got to 10 without including 12 minutes because there was another game that I forgot about. So I hope you're proud of me.
All right.
12 minutes is not
So
in my top
12
10.
minutes is an honorable mention.
There's nothing honorable about that mention.
All right. I guess then here is my 20 to 11. By number 20, game of the year.
God damn.
Chris Tales. Fun game, like I mentioned, but obviously a small studio that had some crazy ambitions. Very excited for what they do next, and hope they can improve on.
Before you get there, I do want to know, how many was there total when you listed them all out? The ones that are not going to end up mentioned in here. I'm just curious.
31.
Nice. Okay. All right. Carry on.
Damn, that is a full year of gaming.
19 WarriorWare. Just a very fun game. I wanted to play more of it, and yeah, there's some games like Nick All-Stars I had a lot of fun with. I feel like I didn't get enough time with it, so they didn't make the list. But where I beat the story, I messed around with the extended modes, played multiplayer with Darby some. That was a lot of fun. It's just a very fun game that I want to play more, especially in a party setting. 18, new Pokemon Snap. I just love this. It's a very simple game and everything, but I feel like as far as the sequel to this game go, they kept the spirit of it, and seeing the Pokemon move in a more like natural, like more they're in their natural habitat kind of way, to me, it's just very nice. I just love Pokemon, just watching them pretty much breathe and live and all that shit. So this is very nice, very chill game, and just had a lot of fun with it. I always went like, whenever I saw like a new Pokemon in the game for the first time, just it got very excited and giddy.
Yeah, it gives you that feeling of like a Pokemon safari.
Yeah. I'm hoping to get at least a little bit of that kind of feeling with Arceus next week, but we will see. 17, Deathloop. Really good game. There are some issues I might have had with the, I guess the difficulty potentially. Like I had enough fun with the difficulty, but it did get really easy towards the end and everything, and kind of the structure of it. Like it was a lot more linear than I thought they would be as far as finding out how to have the quote-unquote perfect day. I was hoping there might have been some more flexibility with that. But overall, very fun game.
Yeah, I've heard those criticisms too thrown at Deathloop.
Number 16, Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart. Very fun game. It may not have done as much crazy stuff as I wanted to. Going, like, may have too high hopes as far as, like, new stuff. Like, the portals and stuff were very cool, but I don't know. I don't know what I was expecting.
No, I get it.
But very beautiful game, very fun game. And like you guys mentioned with the story and characters, like I want a Miles Morales game where it's riveting kit style game. With that.
Yes.
I want that. I need that. 15, Tales of Arise. The only game on this list I have not finished, but I kind of got. But for Tales of Arise, I did get to kind of credits, and it got a new opening, so I'm counting it. Had a lot of fun. It's probably like way the best Tales combat for sure.
Yeah, I would have to say Tales being 15 for you, there has to be something somewhat that you didn't vibe with. I feel like with it.
I think it's just the rest of the year strong. I just didn't finish it. Like there is dog points for not finishing it, and it might be telling that I haven't gone back to finish it kind of thing. But I have loved the game, and I think the rest of the list is just great. But I definitely hear what get what you say.
Yeah, I was just interested if there was any like thing that you could pinpoint, because like I also didn't finish it, didn't even come close, and I'm probably not going to continue. But I'm also a broken man who doesn't play many single player games.
I feel like in some ways it's like each part is like on average is stronger than a lot of Tales games, but the highs for each of those parts may not be like the highest for some of the other games.
I agree with you. Yeah, I agree with you.
Like the story's not as good as the Zillia's and stuff, and the combat to me isn't as good as like Grace's, for instance.
Yeah, I think the quality of life, and there's so many things about it. Yeah, overall, altogether, it does not hit the lows. I think it's like I could recommend it. It's the Tales that I would recommend maybe the most to people, just because like
it's the easiest too, for sure,
to get into and all that stuff. But yeah, I definitely don't care about the cast as much as Zillia and
or babies.
Like, clearly, not anywhere near as much. And like, while I do think the combat is very strong, I played it for like 35 hours and I'm done. You know, it's hit its peak of funness for me.
Number 14, Metroid Dread.
Woo!
Oh, low. Yeah, I was not expecting that.
I wonder when we're gonna get that reaction from you, Darby.
Man.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Carry on. Do tell.
Fantastic game. There is nothing I can.
The number 14.
I swear, I'm not going to let you get away with this without saying anything negative. Like, I'm not going to let you put this 14 without... You're going to have to at least, like, couch why it's this low. You're going to have to give me something.
I don't know.
Like, carry on.
Yeah. It's a great game. Like, I really like that they, you know, it is a Nintendo game, but I like how they didn't focus on it being like baby's first Metroidvania. There is difficulty in this game. I actually had to struggle and repeat these boss fights. Like, some of them kicked my ass, and definitely that last boss, Jesus Christ. Really fun, very addicting game, and all that. I don't know. I know what you want out of me, but
you gotta give me something. Like, a lot of people are like consider this the best Metroid game of all time and like one of Nintendo's best games of all time or whatever. And you clearly don't. I just want to, and it's fine. It's okay to. You can still really love the game, but I just want to know what keeps it from being up at the very top. Just a little bit.
No. And it's okay. What I'm about to say is not really to the games. Like,
answer me, Jeff.
I know what you're going to point out, but I think it is a special case. Like, I really like Metroidvanias, but it's not like my favorite genre like it is a lot of people's.
And that's fine. That's a good enough answer.
Yeah. So even like the best ones aren't going to rank as highly for me. Ori is a special case in my opinion. For like,
I'm glad we see eye to eye on that. Okay, I like Ori a whole lot better.
Granted, I haven't played like like 100 Metroidvanias like a lot of people have. So maybe like I actually went through and played Hollow Knight, I would feel as highly on that. But yeah, way I feel.
Yeah.
Number 13, sorry, Pokemon Unite. First time really getting into a MOBA. I loved it. I keep on wanting to go back to it. I need to scrounge Darby into other ones. I know you don't like it as much League, and I understand, but
I will still play it.
Yeah. I have a lot of fun with this. I just love seeing how this team takes Pokemon I know and love, and some not as popular ones, and insert them into this new genre. I think it's been done really well, and it's just a lot of fun to follow and all that. And yeah, as far as MOBAs go, I kind of like the simpler structure as far as it being 10 minutes and all that. Number 12. I struggled where to put this one because of what it actually is. Bowser's Fury.
Yeah.
It being just kind of an add-on expansion thing to 3D World. It's a weird thing, but it is a 3D Mario, so by default I love it just because of what it is. But it does something so new for Mario and like what it's doing, and the reason it would be like this low, even though it is a 3D Mario that, obviously I had a lot of fun with and all that, it is just kind of like in some ways feels like a vertical slice kind of thing, where I can already see if they expand on this how things will change drastically, because you are in the same location the whole time. The gimmick's really good, but I'm excited to see them to potentially take what's in Bowser's Fury and expand on it to potentially a full game. It's a lot of fun. Number 11, Chicory, A Colorful Tale. So I mentioned before, very good, jolly game. Whenever I mention it, I just say like it's a mixture of Night in the Woods and Tearaway, which two games I love. This is a very good feel-good game, but goes places, everything. The puzzles are not like crazy hard, but they're satisfying enough and just are creative enough the way you use the paintbrush and all that you have those eureka moments, because sometimes not obvious like how you're supposed to use the paintbrush and all that, and just being able to draw on everything and everything about the creativity and all that, and your little characters, it's so adorable.
Yeah.
And that is my 11 through 20.
Jeff literally just did everything we're about to do total just for his honorable mentions.
I know.
All right, well, I guess
Feels bad.
I'll start with my only mention, not honorable, 12 minutes. Which I didn't even play the completion. I just watched the completion, but ugh. Anyway.
I just want to say, I knew Metroid Dread was going to be the one you were going to be surprised about.
Yeah. But no, that's fine. It's A-okay. Because I haven't even played enough to have it on my list, so there you go. I was just surprised.
Great game.
Number 10 for me is Monster Hunter Rise, which I enjoyed a lot. I also didn't get to the end of that, but we played a fair amount. I enjoy Monster Hunter games. I definitely don't get into them anywhere near as much as other people do. Like it's kind of like a fun thing to do with friends every now and then, but like I don't really enjoy playing them on my own. But I think Rise was definitely doing some very fun things. I think the wire bug, like the mobility around the map, I think was very, very fun in this game. And there was something like this game, I don't even know what it was. It just felt like easier to jump in and just kind of do things than Even World. I mean, it was just kind of it was somewhat world light, you know, in a sense or whatever. Like the environments were smaller, which was somewhat good. It was like kind of good in some ways where you could just like get in, fight your monster, get out. You know, it was a fun time. It was a fun time with everyone. I think the weapons were fun. I think they did a lot of like everything felt like slightly different enough to still be a lot of fun, and unlocking all your armor and everything. It's a good time. It's a good formula for a video game, and I enjoyed it.
Yeah. Is it my turn?
Yes.
All right, so my number 10 is If on a Winter's Night for Travelers, which is a kind of a pixel point-and-click adventure game. I think it's free on itch. If it's not free, then it's like just a few dollars.
I actually saw the start. I saw like the first level of this, the first like arc or whatever, like in a demo or something. I watched Isla play it.
Oh, okay.
And it's like I was really interested in it.
Well, if you like the first part, because that's definitely the weakest part in my opinion.
Yeah.
So it just gets better from there.
It was dark. It was very dark.
Yeah,
it was cool though.
Yeah, if you're interested in this game, like just like straight up, I think it has content warning like when you start the game, but like definitely it's dark. There's some triggering things in there, especially for like depictions of like depression and suicide and stuff like that, because it's a game that's I think set in the 20s, and it's basically about these strangers are on a train. They're describing like how they got to this point, and so a lot of it is told through flashback, and all these characters are pretty much like marginalized individuals, and it's really exploring just the horror of marginalization and how that works both directly and indirectly. And again, it has some just honestly just stunning pixel art, which is I think a pretty high praise, because we've seen a lot of games that have really good pixel art, but especially in like the last chapter of that game, some of the surrealism that the game goes into. If you've played the game, there's just this scene of like a chapel. It's taking a lot from the horror of like World War One, and specifically, and just the artwork around that is very disturbing, but also just fantastic. So, if on a winter's night for travelers, I would. This is just a little game that surprised me in a lot of ways.
Heck yeah. So we're not getting to you to number 5. Is that correct?
Correct. Oh, okay.
I guess my number 10 is No More Heroes 3, baby.
Yeah.
It looks like this might be the end of the series, and it is a very fitting end because it is batshit insane and crazy. Like just Suda's a madman just with everything. Fu is definitely the strongest antagonist in my opinion in the No More Heroes franchise, and I think a fitting end to it. Not every loose end was, I guess, tied and they didn't do for all that, but they did enough there. Strangely enough, without going to spoilers, they did set up a sequel that I don't think is ever going to happen, which makes me sad. But the combat overall, and the combat for this game was, I think, an improvement over the last couple. It was a lot more fun to actually go through it. The boss fights were, appropriately insane. Like that's whole No More Heroes thing, and in my opinion, one of the best series as far as boss fights go. And those were still a lot of fun. And again, as I mentioned before with the ending, there are more crazy scenes like how I described the ending. It goes pretty hard.
My number 9 is a game I kind of I forgot about until in the recording of this episode, and I didn't play a lot of it, but whatever, I'm gonna put it there anyway. It's WarioWare.
Let's go, baby.
I really only played I played a bunch of mini games with Jeff in the multiplayer thing. I didn't play the single player thing at all, but we played a fair amount of the multiplayer, and I played the party games enough to know that this was a very fun game. It's a very well made game.
Forgot to mention the gimmick with using the characters was also very well done.
Yes. Yeah. I think that was this is my first WarioWare game. But I do think the different characters you can choose have such crazy, wildly different move sets. Like, there's people who can like zip all around the map, and then there's someone who just stands in one place, but he can shoot everywhere. But like for every mini game, it's like you can do something where you get a random character, so it just makes the mini games that are already completely random and bonkers and like an acid trip. And then you also have characters that have like wild random move sets that almost every character has like a huge good thing about them and almost a huge bad thing about them.
Yeah, and it's kind of fun because they're called micro games and they only last a couple seconds, so it's quick like, okay, what I gotta do here? Oh shit, I'm this character. How do I do this? Oh no.
It's like that Nintendo chaos that is present in Smash and Mario Kart and like everything. It's that chaos, like the concentrated form of that chaos. It's just like you're riding way too close to the sun, but it's fun anyway. It's just, especially in a party setting, like we still yet to do that, but I think like a big group playing all those games, that's like, I think it should be added to your rotation of like party Nintendo games. I think it's that good. It's like I think it's worth the.
I think I know one you're gonna bring up probably later. That's also part of that.
Oh yeah.
Fortunately, I didn't play enough of it.
Super duper good.
Yeah, so my number 9 is Little Nightmares 2, which I also played the first one this year in anticipation for this one. And I think it's better than the first game, but I think it also, it takes what I liked about the first Little Nightmares and improves upon that, but it also doesn't really fix any like the problems that I had with that first game. I think, the art style, the way it kind of plays into this almost like childlike sense of horror, like it's some people describe it as like Tim Burton-y, but I wouldn't really put it that way. But it manages to be very grotesque and horrifying, but not like gory and like violent. It does all that well. There's some like great moments in Little Nightmares 2, and some unexpected like resonating like narrative beats as well, that I especially towards the end. I think the conclusion to Little Nightmares 2 is also really, really good. But it still falls into the same problems of I think like the gotcha deaths in that game that it kind of forces you into get a little grating. I think it's the way it demands precision and the puzzle platforming in some sequences when it's not a game that's very much like built for that type of precision. It gets irritating. And I think some of the like things you can only die to something that's scary so much until you're just kind of over it and it's not scary anymore. And I think as great as Little Nightmares 2 is, as great as like its art direction and like its monster design is, I think it still runs to that problem where it's like I've died to this thing so many times that I'm just not really terrified in this sequence anymore. But still, really solid game, I think.
My number 9 is Persona 5 Strikers, baby. Actually, retroactively put this in my runners up for biggest surprise. I expected to like this game, but I did not expect this to be as good as it actually was.
Cracked that top 10, baby.
Yeah. And again, I know people. I've been beating this drum all year. I know people are like, "Oh, Muso." It's an action RPG. It's some Muso sprinkles in it, but it's a Persona action RPG through and through. It is a lot more like a Persona game than I initially thought for sure, with like how story heavy in that, and the new Phantom Thieves and Kichi and Sophia are fantastic. And whatever spin-off, like if we get a fighting game and they're not in it, I'm going to fucking riot. They are great. I just love the time you get with these characters. The combat is very satisfying. Even though it's not as in-depth, you still get the nice feel of like fusing personas and all that. again, it's a lot more straightforward and simple, but it's still a fun time. And yeah, if you like Persona 5 and are into like action RPGs, I just highly recommend giving this a shot.
I want Persona 6 with like every button in my body.
You'll get it in 2026.
Yeah, it'll happen one day.
And it'll be
One day,
PS4 exclusive.
Probably. PS4.
Yeah.
PS4.
I know what I said.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're definitely gonna get it
No,
like
you're-
6 years into the PlayStation 5 life cycle. And it's gonna be on PlayStation 4.
You're right. If not 3. My number 8, sticking with the Nintendo chaos, is Mario Party Superstars. Was it?
Yes.
Superstars. It's good to have a Mario
good
Party.
Mario Party.
Yeah, a Mario Party that I could just recommend to people, and like it's actually like a pretty good full package, again, because I think that like even this game I still think could have more. I mean, I still think the amount of maps it has is still less than I think that it probably should have. It would be fine if I thought it was getting any more, but it's not. Just give up hope of that. But the package already, it's great. I mean, there's it's 5 boards.
Yes.
5 boards, but they are very, very good boards. They each have their own gimmick and everything. And it has like a big selection of mini games from old ones to new ones, like going across the entire history of Mario Party. So like it's kind of a slam dunk, especially I've played it multiple times now with our friends who all play games and who are super competitive, and I've also played it with like my sister's in-laws and their family that doesn't really play mini games at all, and like I came in dead last and I do play games, none of them do. That's the great thing about Mario Party, is like anyone can jump in there, some chaos is going to happen, and you're going to have a good time.
Yeah, unfortunately, this game fucked me over last time, so in my mind, it's still trash.
Yeah, it's trash. Yeah. Until Jeff gets a win, this shit is just trash.
This is true.
It's
This is
only
how
good
it
until
works.
I'm winning.
Yeah, which I win like at least 80% of the time in Mario Party against our friends. So.
I still do, and I know I'm sitting here. I really do like this game a lot.
Yeah.
I still do feel like Mario Party leaves some meat on the bone. Like I feel like Mario Party could be more than it is, but it just doesn't have to, and that's kind of the problem I get to with several Nintendo IPs.
Oh yeah.
And I do think this is one of them that like they kind of do what they enough to get by, and they know it's gonna sell. Like I think this game could be a little bit more than it is. That being said, I think it's a lot of fun. It's a very, very good party game to have.
Don't forget the stickers. Good game. And it's a hit.
The stickers, yeah, getting in the way of the actual dialogue you need to see to play the game.
Stickers best edition. You can be toxic as hell. It's great.
Yep, it's wonderful.
That's the whole
Jacob.
point of Mario Party.
Exactly.
It's just to be toxic as hell. My number 8 is Overboard.
Wait, you played Overboard? I forgot. I didn't realize you played Overboard.
Well, okay, so I have not beaten Overboard, but I played like 2 hours, and that 2 hours was very memorable for me.
Okay,
But I did really enjoy this game. I want to go back to it and like actually finish it. But there's been like a lot of loop games this year, and I feel like this game has a very great loop of this just like interlocking narrative puzzle as you're going around and talking to people on the ship and just trying to like cover up your crime of throwing your shitty ass husband overboard. And just the way of trying to, there's basically like a Columbo or like an investigator type character on the ship, and like you're trying to outfox him and try to basically maneuver yourself and put yourself in a position where you can get away with this murder, just frankly justifiable murder. It's just a really good game, and the way that it respects your time. It's a very bite-sized game, and again, like the whole point, like the loop, is that you can kind of, once you do like the first cycle, you can kind of fast forward and get to the points where you're like, okay, I want to change and mess with stuff here, and I found that really satisfying. So yeah, Overboard is just a really good like bite-sized like narrative game.
Yeah, I feel like I might as well jump in here because it's my number 7. It's coming up for me. It's my number 7, and I agree with everything he said. And I think that's actually a very underrated mechanic, the whole speed up thing. Because I was saying as we were playing it, I don't think I would like this game nearly as much and wouldn't have beat it if we had to go through everything every single time or whatever. But the fact that you can be like, okay, I know I just want to get to like 1 p.m. and then we're gonna make this other decision. Let's get there or whatever. And that's the thing that so many of these games I think miss. And that's one of the things that 12 minutes I feel like didn't respect my time when it came to doing a lot of that stuff. They had some shortcuts, but like not enough. You know, you had to retread way too much ground here. Whereas like, yeah, I think 12 minutes. It's just a really freaking well made game, and it makes you think enough, but not so much to where you're just sitting there stumped forever. It's just, you know, it's very, very, very well done and super funny. I think it's a very funny writing, tongue in cheek. Like I love whoever she has a very fancy name, but whatever your main character, like she's really, really good.
Mm-hmm.
I like all of them. I especially like the boat driver.
Yes, he's also great. Yeah.
Spoilers, you can sleep with. He is also very fun.
Yeah, the characters in that game are also like great, especially the main one.
Yeah, absolutely. And they do a very good job of making it's like, oh, she kills her husband. It's like, oh, he was a shithead. It's like,
yeah, you don't feel bad.
No, you don't feel
like, no, like I would throw him overboard.
Yeah, yeah.
My number 8, and speaking of time loop games, Nocia.
Yep.
Yep.
It is a hot year for that.
Yep. As I mentioned, this is a Town of Salem werewolf Among Us kind of game. You got to figure out who done it. Sometimes you're the one who done it, but it's like in a visual novel style. You got to go through these loops, figuring out what exactly is going on, who are the Nocia and all that. How exactly does time loop stuff work especially when you and one character, as I mentioned before, Setsu, are the only ones who retain memories between all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And people's histories generally stay the same, but kind of change throughout these roles. And like a lot of games I like, it has a very batshit crazy twist throughout, and especially endings and stuff. And I adore that shit. If a kind of single player werewolf kind of game with a crazy story and characters and stuff appeals to you, give this game at least a look. I don't think there's a demo, there probably isn't, but I don't know, just kind of give it a watch because it's a very unique game that maybe can get kind of old between going for other loots, but they do have some tools like Event Finder, so you can get to the things that help to learn stuff about characters, so you can actually advance in the main story. Great game.
Yeah, my number 7's Overboard. So.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And my number 7 is Mundan, which is again, like I said, it's a first person kind of horror adventure game. It's actually like way more survival horror than I was expecting. But it's Swiss, and it's basically a folk horror where your main character, he's kind of going back to his ancestral village to kind of like lift this curse from his grandfather. And like I mentioned with the art style, it has these kind of sketchbook kind of pencil looking graphics to it. So it has a very distinctive look as well as vibe. It's kind of cool because the whole game I was trying to figure out like what language they were speaking, and they're speaking Romanche, which is like a very unique language to Switzerland. It's like one of their 4 official languages, but it's very much rooted in a time and a place. And it is like a horror game, but it's also like just kind of like goofy and like isn't afraid to just have like these moments of like levity or silliness, which I kind of enjoy. Like this is a game where you can like smoke a pipe and talk to like a talking goat head. And it's just kind of silly in that way. But also a very interesting story of like familial trauma, or like the way that like history kind of reaches from the past and into the present. And yeah, just a game that has a very strong sense of style and place. And the main character too, his name is Kurdin, and it's like there's all these horrific things are happening, but he's just very just like nonchalant about everything. He's just kind of like, he reacts, but he's like very much like mild-mannered like Swiss guy, and it's just kind of funny. He's just like I don't know, but it's a very charming game, and with some amazing like visuals to it that I really enjoyed. So definitely a game set in the snowy mountainside village that really grabbed me this year.
Yes. My number 7, Life is Strange, True Colors. Said, love me some Life is Strange, and this is a good one. Yeah, Alex Shen, Haven Springs is a very good main character setting combo. Like I've mentioned throughout this, like the townspeople you meet throughout this are great. And I don't know, just the twists and turns throughout the story are fun. Again, can't really go into that. Just kind of repeating myself, I know, but not really much more to say about going into the spoilers.
No worries. Whenever I finally play it, we can have our spoilercast.
Alex Shen is the best. And yeah. And I guess I will say a weird thing is because this is the only game, the first Life is Strange game that's released all at once, it's weird with the chapter times because they definitely some chapters are just playing out a good bit shorter than the other ones. They kept the 5-chapter thing.
Probably didn't think about it as much when they were making it. They're like,
with the whole next on and all that kind of stuff. But
you like this format though? You think they should just release it all at once from here on out?
just do it. I mean, I'm okay with them separating as long as they can keep up with the timetable and in a timely fashion. That was the problem with Life is Strange 2.
But they have never been able to do that.
Yeah. But it would help those sales. I don't want the series to obviously continue. So, yeah.
My number 6 is Tales of Arise. Which, it's weird. It's another game that I did not beat. I still have a lot left to go. But this was the game when I had COVID earlier this year. This is when I put my 30-something hours into this game. And it was very nice. It was very good to have a JRPG to sink into. And I think in a lot of ways it does improve tremendously on the Tales formula. First and foremost is the visuals. I think visually this game looks really, really, really good. It looks like a Dragon Quest 11 style art style with not exactly, but it's more in that vein. So big step up for Tales. And I think the combat system and a lot of just the things around just playing the game and doing menus and buying things is just a lot easier in a good way. It's not like trimmed. It still feels like worthwhile, but it's a lot easier to get into, which I enjoyed a lot. And I think the characters in the story are good. I don't think they're great, and I think that's part of what keeps me from going. And that, and just the combat again. I think the game's just too long. I think the game just needed to be half the length it is, and that's the problem with a lot of JRPGs like this. But all things considered, I think the future is bright for the Tales series because I think they finally put some budget into it, and it seems like it paid off. So I'm satisfied.
All right, so my number 6 is in a lot of ways kind of like my number 7. It's another game set in a spooky village in the snowy mountains, and that is Resident Evil Village. I'm actually not all the way through this game, but I'm 90% of the way there, so I feel pretty comfortable putting it on this list. Because I feel like as long as it doesn't just utterly shit the bed in the last second, then I know how I feel about it. But it's, I don't know, I have kind of mixed feelings about this game. I think on one hand, the Resident Evil series is very much a popcorn series for games where it's I don't take them too seriously, but they're just very enjoyable. And I think Resident Evil Village is a very enjoyable game. It definitely is way more goofy and kind of just it's unapologetically video gamey in a way that it uses horror in a very video gamey way that almost feels irreverent. But I think it's an enjoyable time, and it is in a lot of respects I think different from Resident Evil 7, and I'm not exactly sure which one I prefer. I think at the moment that I am leaning more towards liking 7 a little more than Village, but I still think Village is a fun game and a good follow-up to 7 and kind of the storyline from there. And I like how Village is tied more closely to the larger Resident Evil mythos universe, what have you. And I'm honestly surprised that I like the characters. I like kind of, again, this very irreverent style that's going for, but I'm a little taken aback as to how much people like Lady Dimitrescu, because she is really just a very small portion of that game. And I felt like her role is just kind of
I'm with you there. Spoiler alert.
Oversold.
Resident Evil Village is going to come up on my list at some point. But yeah, that's one of those things. Like, she's great and her part is great and everything. But like when she won, her voice actress won Best Voice Actress, I'm kind of like, I mean, she did really good in the role, but nothing really stood out to why she would be the best voice actress and why people love her so much, other than she's a tall, hot lady that could step on you.
Yeah, and actually, where I'm at, like, I actually feel like the castle itself, which is her section, is actually the weakest part of the game. But I don't know, it's still like, again, it's Resident Evil for me is like a very much popcorn series, and I think it delivers that popcorny vibe to it. And I do really like the village itself. It really does. It's just a gorgeous game, and it really does sell like that snowy kind of dilapidated European village. So yeah.
I've seen most of this game from people playing on YouTube. Whatever the place you go to after the castle, I like that one with the person that does the weird like mind things. Yeah, I like that one.
Yeah, the dollhouse.
Yeah,
that's definitely a standout location for me.
For sure.
Did you watch clips from Kyle and Huber's playthrough?
No, I'm not.
Okay,
I should. You should. I watched Max for most of it.
Nice. My number 6, Guardians of the Galaxy. Great game. As I mentioned before, won't spend too long on this. Cast was great. I really enjoyed the story throughout it. I think you did a great job kind of like, I don't know Guardians much from the comics. Obviously, this is kind of like a mixture of comics and MCU, maybe leaning more on the MCU, but I thought this did a great job of making it easy to understand for people like me who just really know the characters from the MCU, but kind of really expanding on them and, their backgrounds and that kind of stuff and their character and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, got you feel better like this being a team and like how they grow as one like throughout the game. And combat's pretty fun. Not the craziest thing in the world, but I think serviceable overall. Maybe some parts were a little long, but great game, great soundtrack. I recommend it, especially since it's on sale constantly. Or in your case, it's right there in the next
Super
room.
on sale. It's free in the next room.
Again, I think you and Jenny should definitely play it together.
Yeah, don't know if she's about to have a child too. So
True.
I'm pretty sure I'm just gonna play that by myself.
Then you should do that.
Number 5, Bullshit Blazing.
Bullshit blazing.
Guilty Gear Strive, baby. I didn't play as much of Guilty Gear Strive as I would like to.
Same.
I'm super bad at it. I'm not good at it at all.
I'm a pro.
It's one of those things like in Mortal Kombat, at least. Like I'm not good at Mortal Kombat either, but I can beat hard on the computer, and I can go online and like beat every third person or something, or at least be competitive with people. Guilty Gear is like I struggle. I have to like go 8 rounds in a row just to beat normal computer ones. It's like I am bad at this game, but it is really, really, really good. It's just a really, really, really well made fighting game in so many ways. Like I've played some of the old Guilty Gear games and they're always just like way over my head. There's just way too many systems going on. I don't know what the fuck's going on. Strive does such a good job of being very simple. There's really not that many moves total in the game, but it's just like kind of how you string them together that like separates the pros from the for me
Normies.
for me like so I felt like I could get in there and be like, okay, I understand this character after just a few times as far as like what they can do, and now I just have to try to like piece it together. So it's kind of beginner friendly but also pretty deep and at the same time, and just feels different because the time to kill is like way shorter than any other game. It's very high octane. It's like getting there, if you lose, get right back up. You're right back at it, and you keep going. It's just a really well made fighting game. I actually kind of have the itch to go back and play it some more, so I think I might do that soon.
Where's Persona 5 Arena?
Yeah, that too. But Guilty Gear, probably one of the best fighting games out there, so I hope that it keeps getting supported.
Indeed.
Yeah, that game is definitely a looker. I'll give you that.
Oh.
I'm not much in the fighting games, but yeah, that game is gorgeous. My number 5 is Inkslinger, which I was kind of talking about earlier. Besides just having a phenomenal style and like presentation, this is a game where it's set in a fictional world. Also, like amazing character names. It's very short too. It's only about an hour, but it's again, it's set in this fictional world, and like it doesn't. I mean, your character it's divided between like the present of your character kind of composing these letters or official notices or poems for like clients, and then also flashbacks. And just the way that the world was kind of revealed through this character's experience is really intriguing, but also like horrifying. Because I mean, it is a spoiler, but I don't think it really takes away from the game. Basically, your character, besides just her job, it is to type. Like she's called like, I think like an ink vein, but basically she has to write. She has to create in order to survive. And I think that the game story becomes a narrative around like what it means to be a creator, and like the desire to want to create something that you're proud of, but also like the way that industry or capitalism or just like the current financial ecosystems will exploit that creativity to where it is also unsatisfying, but you're also driven to continue to like put effort and into that kind of system. And so it is a really kind of horrifying game on that level. But so yeah, just a great, frankly, like horrifying narrative, amazing writing, great presentation, and that's Inkslinger. And I would really recommend it. I think it's only like $4, $5, and it's very short, but it's a really cool experience. And again, it is a typing like adventure game, but it's not like most typing games are kind of like about precision and speed. And this is more about like what, the meaning of the words, or like what words evoke in the reader. It's just a really unique game.
Jacob always brings the most interesting sounding games.
Indeed. Oh wait, Will, you've
All
been
Jacob,
quiet enough.
Will, we picking you back up.
I'm here.
He's jumping on the train.
So number 5 is almost kind of like an honorable mention, just because honestly I haven't played enough of it, but I'm certain. Well, I should say my number 5 could become like a number 1 or 2 pretty easily. It Takes Two. I just haven't played enough of the game yet. Like I said earlier, Mitchell just isn't quite adept enough at games yet to be able to do this one boss battle that we're at. But I can already tell I'm gonna love it. I liked A Way Out quite a bit. I liked Brothers even more than A Way Out. So I know that he's like had something special, and I am excited to play more when I can. So that's number 5.
Nice. Okay, I'm excited for you to do that as well. We need to talk about it.
Number 5 for me, Hitman 3, baby.
Ooh. These hands.
You can't stop them. Now, Hitman, well, this new World of Assassination trilogy has been a series of games I've been wanting to play for so long, since really the first one. I dabbled in the first one like very shortly, but got busy and didn't stop. So like at this point, it's like, okay, I'll wait for the third one. Everything's being ported. Let's do it. So in a way, the whole trilogy is new to me, which is great. And by God, are these games fun? Just figuring out how to assassinate them, even going through like the kind of more structured assassinations are very fun, and just seeing how things can twist and turn, and then, just you kind of going off the cuff to figure it out. And Hitman is very good at knowing that it is a video game, and just kind of like the AI is just dumb enough for you to get away with some stupid shit, but also smart enough to where you can't get away with anything. And then when you get caught, well, you're fucked. You're probably not going to completely shoot your way out of this and everything be hunky dory, like honestly a lot of games do. So that's a lot of fun, and VR being added to this is so awesome. I love these games in VR. I'm excited to, like I mentioned, going in there and being able to use the Move controllers to go around instead of just using the DualShock, which was a little, it was pretty clunky overall, but it worked well enough. But it was still a lot of fun, like how they made it go in first person, and it just adds a lot to the wackiness of Hitman. And the series is just a lot of fun. It's on Game Pass now, so if anyone has that, I recommend going through this series, and just in general, it's just a lot of dumb fun.
Heck yeah. My number 4 is Pokemon Unite.
Let's go, BB.
Yeah. This was like my number one anticipated game or something up there at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, or maybe not at the beginning of the year, at least our halfway point. I know we did it.
Whatever it was, before it came out. Whatever. Yeah, because obviously last year I got super duper, or year before last, I got super duper into League of Legends. So then coming up for Pokemon Unite, I thought this was definitely going to be a very exciting way to get Jeff and get other people into it, a more casual, bite-sized version of League. And it gave me exactly that for sure. And I think we've had lots of lots of super duper fun memories with it, like really fun nights playing it. I think it does a very good job of being accessible, but also deep enough to where we can have strategy. You can tell a good team from a bad team for sure. Yeah. And I think that part of it is very strong. The fact that it's only 10 minutes and it's a 10-minute clock, it's there. It's so much more bite size, and I think it has a very big appeal that way. I think there are things I think the game needs to improve. I think it's definitely year one of this game. I think there's like just balancing things. There's just things about the overall experience. Like Zapdos already got moved back some. I think there needs to be other tweaks on it. And I do find myself like I could just play League, but I still think it has a lot of merit to it in being the bite-sized version of League that it is. And I think the way that they do Pokemon, the way that they introduce Pokemon is very strong in the fact that like it's not just all the normal typical popular Pokemon you would think. Like they get in there with some of the deeper in the roster.
Trevenant was just announced.
Yeah. Which I think is very exciting. Every time they release a character, we genuinely don't know who it could be. It could be anyone. And it seems like they go like, who's going to be the most interesting moveset first? So this is a game, I think this game is going to get better and better and better and better. I think right now is going to be the worst that it's ever been. And that's a compliment. I think it's just going to get...
Like you said, they updated Zapdos and Dreadnought and nerfed them, so I'm curious. Because I don't think we played since that happened, so...
I played a little bit, a tiny bit, but yeah.
So I'll let that. We'll try Dragonite too.
But... it is very fun. It is like, exactly what I wanted it to be, and I excited for the future of it.
When Bidoof, though?
When Bidoof is the real question.
That's the question.
Give me them teeth.
Yeah, now the game is a surprise because like I would not think that a Pokemon MOBA would succeed in the way that it has, but it seems, it's done quite well for itself.
Yeah, that genre is just already huge in Pokemon Siege, and just the things that I saw from it, it definitely looked like it looked like they had a good head on their shoulders as far as like making the movesets and making everything. It's a pretty well made game overall.
Yeah. Pokemon lend themselves very well to other genres.
Yeah, because you could keep adding characters till the end of time, and there's so many Pokemon you're never gonna run out.
Yeah, absolutely. My number 4 is Monster Hunter Rise, which is I guess like World. It's like, man, I put I think 90 hours into this game, and like it's like, man, I wish I had played more. Like the siren song is calling to me to go back to Monster Hunter Rise.
That expansion.
Yeah, exactly. It's just a series that just really speaks to me in a like the way that the gameplay or like the way it's structured just kind of hooks me and grabs me, like that grind to hunt monsters to make gear, and then to hunt better monsters to make better gear. It just sucks me in. And I think with Rise, everyone was wondering like, oh, is a Monster Hunter game on the Switch going to be able to compete or stand up to the big hype and the buzz and the success that Monster Hunter World was? And I think Rise really does that, which is really impressive again for a game that, I mean, you can see that it's not on the technical level as World, but it does a really good job. I think the levels or like the areas themselves are really well crafted and have a really good sense of scale, whether it's like the verticality and like the bamboo forest area, or it's the way that the caves kind of interlocked in like the lava zone. And then the monsters themselves, I think, are really, really memorable and really exciting. And just the way that the weapons, I mean, your gear is a big part of Monster Hunter. And I think Monster Hunter Rise's weapons and gear to me are a lot more colorful and memorable than the stuff in World. World just kind of felt to me like a little more subdued or just like kind of drab in comparison. But like Rise is just a very colorful, very fun game. And then the additions that they made, like the wire bug, that sense of movement is really fantastically done.
Hallman.
And then the palamutes, and then the way that you can kind of change some of the skills in your weapon, which can in some cases just dramatically change the play style of different weapons. It's a monster. At the end of the day, you can say, well, it's a Monster Hunter game, but it's Monster Hunter for me just remains a really great series and just really captivating and addicting.
Sometimes I think about how that game runs on the Switch, like online and all. I'm like, what wizardry did Capcom do to make this work and look and run as well as it does compared to most other non-Nintendo games of its scale?
Exactly. Like there are very few moments where I remember like noticing the game like dipping, I think below like 30 frames per second, which is again amazing for an action heavy game on the Switch.
I never remember having any problems, which is shocking because it's a downgrade, but it's not nearly as much of a visual downgrade as you would think it is.
Yeah, there is some dark magic, some wizardry going on like within that engine, and I think it's the Resident Evil engine too, which is again crazy that it runs so well.
And again, whatever they do online, I think they did it differently. I think I saw some rumors that Pokemon Legends Arceus is using whatever Rise is using for its online. I'm like, I don't care who's doing it. Just look at whatever Rise is doing for online and copy that.
Jeff doesn't care how many orphans had to be sacrificed to make this happen. Just do it.
Fuck the orphans.
Oh, William.
Well, since Jeff reminded me that Maquette is 2021, that's gonna be my number 4.
There you go.
You can just cut my stuff from earlier, and
I'm definitely gonna go through all that work. Definitely gonna do that.
No, I mean, like I was saying earlier, though, it's just I really like the narrative. The puzzle game aspects is unique. I don't think I've played a game like it before where you have to think about the 3 different levels and how you can mess around with that kind of environment. But in the end, I was really playing it for the narrative. It's just a pretty lovely story about a guy and a girl meeting and falling in love and falling out of love, and it was really affecting to me. So I liked Maquette a lot.
Nice. Yeah, my number 4. Resident Evil Village, baby. Let's go.
It's pretty high. That's pretty high. I like that.
Yeah. I don't know what it is. Like I know, like I seem like I rate this game higher than a lot of other people do. It feels like I know it was nominated.
It's mixed. I see some people with it.
Yeah. Obviously, it was nominated for GOTY Game Awards, so other people feel kind of more similarly than I do. I don't know. This is my favorite Resident Evil game. Granted, I haven't played as many as a lot of people. I just played literally the last 4 with the 2 and 3 remakes and then 7. I think it's like Jacob mentioned, like it's kind of campiness. I feel like it's just the amount it added to it compared to the other 3 I played. I think it's a good amount to make it set it apart and its goofiness and everything that it just really hit for me. And just like Jacob mentioned, the village itself is great, and just going back once you unlock things to kind of like Metroidvania kind of thing, to kind of discover new parts of the village was fun. And having the, I guess, 4 different kind of sub bosses that they have their own different locations that were pretty different from each other overall. In a lot of ways was very nice, and I would say at least make it compared to some of the other Resident Evils I've played kind of less repetitive in a way, because you're going to all these different environments and doing these different things and all that. Kind of like a greatest hits in a way. I think it was all pretty well done, and I know some might be mixed on this, and I know Jacob Hamill did, but I really liked the ending for it. And
I love the ending.
Yeah, I do love the ending, and it made me like Ethan more than I did. I get it.
I'm curious there.
It's pretty crazy.
It was my favorite Resident Evil to like watch clips and then hear people talk about and everything. Like I still don't really think I would enjoy playing it, but like I like watching the story and everything, and like I mean it's crazy. It's batshit insane.
Yeah, and I think from a gameplay standpoint, I don't know. At least to me, it felt like the best to play.
Yeah, I can see that. I think it's like, I think for me, because I played 4 and I know like it is taking a lot from 4, and I just like 4 does that campiness. I think like the action in 4 and then the campiness of it is just a little better done, but I also like
I get that
the silliness.
since I haven't played it. I have been contemplating, do I play regular 4 first, or I go straight into the VR version? This is my conundrum. Because I have an Oculus.
If you can dig up the Wii, people say the Wii version is like the ideal way to play Resident Evil 4.
Maybe motion controlled. I have it on Switch. Maybe there's motion controlled in there.
Yeah, I had to shout out the comedy of like how they fuck up Ethan's hands in that game, because that's just the dumbest. Like, I guess it's like a minor spoiler.
Just
but
pour some alcohol and you're fine.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so like that moment where like he gets his hand just cut clean off, and then he's holding it and he just sticks it back on and like pours the first aid like juice on it, and it just heals back together. And you're just like, yeah, don't worry about it. Like the game doesn't even acknowledge like it's like, oh yeah, this is like super magic juice or whatever. Like it's just like, yeah, just put it back on. Everything's good.
Magic grass.
Yeah.
It's been a staple of the series.
It's kind of nice when video games just know that's just something as gamers we all like have the like cognitive dissonance. We know how to just put that out of our brains to more than anyone else. It's just like, it's fine.
Yeah, or just like it's like, oh yeah, here are the 4 bosses that you're gonna fight. It's just very upfront about that, but I kind of appreciate that.
Welcome to Resident Evil. Here's where
and I think Heisenberg was appropriate levels of over the top to me. I like him.
Yeah.
All right, Darby.
Oh, shit. Number 3. Final Fantasy 7 intermission. Yeah. I think I've said pretty much all I need to say, and you know me. You know him. Final Fantasy 7's the best thing ever in all video games, and this is just added on to that even more.
Okay, Darby, I just want to say, just before you think about it, I didn't put intermission on my list because it felt more DLC-ish than all the other stuff.
Yeah, just my list is so sparse. I kind of felt like
no, it's fine. Yeah. I just want you to know I love it. Okay, I didn't want you to think otherwise.
Okay, I thank you, Jeff. Okay, I do recognize that. Yeah, it is only like 3.5 hours long, so it's.
I did put Bowser's Fury, but that felt more like its own separate thing. More.
Yeah,
is my reasoning.
Yeah, this is very much tied to. This definitely feels like a bonus chapter or a bonus like 2 or 3 chapters.
And as we mentioned, like. The way it sets up Yuffie's, like
it's
compared
just,
to the original,
it's perfect. It's just, and this gives me. I was already so excited for remake part 2. This just gives me even more confidence to where it's like, if they'll do all this for Yuffie, who is really just like she's like a spoiled brat who steals your materia and is kind of a jerk. That's like most of her character. She's just like a little kid or whatever. It's like, yeah, if they're gonna do all this for Yuffie and they make me genuinely care about Yuffie to a point where it's like. I was like tearing up at the end of this for Yuffie. I'm like, yeah, fucking Vincent. Like Vincent was like my favorite character as a kid because of course I was like 8 and he was this edgy dude with a gun that turned into a vampire. Of course I loved him. And I'm just so excited because like he actually has way more to do with the plot. Like he has way more stuff going on. So like I don't know, like this whole trilogy, quadrilogy, duology, whatever it ends up being is just going to be it's too much for me. I just can't.
Yep.
I'm going to be obsessed with it even more than I am with this game. It's just like this is all a dream come true, and it just continues to go.
I want it now.
I love it so much. Love it.
All right, we're on number 3, right?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So my number 3 is actually a game that came out in 2019, but I'm going to count it as a 2021 game because it's only available in 2019.
He's breaking
for like
all
2
the
weeks.
rules.
Yeah.
He's gone rogue.
Will sat through 30 minutes of silence.
That's Devotion, which is that game from Red Candle Studios, the
right,
Taiwanese
right,
studio
right.
that was it was pulled from Steam because of like an Easter egg that was critical of China's president, and then there's like a long story around this of them not being able to put it back on Steam, and like other publishers didn't want to like have it on their platform, and eventually I think in 2021 they just like, fuck it, we're just gonna put it on our own like store page, and you just buy it and download it directly.
Okay, you know what, Jacob, that clears. That's very fair.
I think for the next game, because you can now, they just put Winnie the Pooh in there.
I mean,
Public domain, bitches.
the whole thing was BS. It was ridiculous. But
which is sad because Devotion is, I think, like a really, really good game. It is a horror game. It's a first-person horror, like adventure game. It is set in like an apartment in Taiwan, and I want to say like the 80s. And basically, it is about. I mean, it is, it's called Devotion, so it is playing with the way people can be devoted to their family, devoted to their career, devoted to religion or tradition. And it's playing a lot with traditional Taiwanese folklore. It's like a very cultural game, and that it's referencing and playing with a lot of things that like I personally just don't understand because I'm not from Taiwan. But it's just a fantastic game with a really fantastic and tragic story about a father and whose, again, devotion to I guess cultural ideals eventually undoes and destroys himself and his family. And it's really, again, like a really tragic story, but really well done. And I don't like, and I like horror games, but I don't like to judge them based on like how much they scare me. But there is a scare very early on in Devotion that like just had me like riveted. Like it got me really good. But yeah. But Devotion is just a really fantastic game.
Nice.
So if you like horror games, like definitely check this out. As well as their other game, Detention, was also really, really good. Yeah. They're just a really outstanding studio.
William?
This is number 3, right?
Yup.
My number 3 is going to be Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. I was pretty surprised whenever I played 2016's Ratchet. I think it was free on PlayStation Plus or something, and I decided to give it a shot, and I actually enjoyed it quite a bit. So when they announced that, I guess this was going to be really the first PS5 exclusive game, I was pretty excited to get into it, and it was good. I mean, I kind of feel about it like what Jacob was saying with Resident Evil, that it's like kind of just a popcorny thing to play with. I enjoyed the action of it. The scenery was beautiful. And I think it did do a good job of showing off like a lot of the aspects that PS5 is capable of. But at the end of the day, it's just a good game. It wasn't like life-changing for me, So I don't think in a typical year where I would have, if I played a lot more, I don't know if it would be this high up, but I appreciated it for what it was.
Nice. My number 3. Near Replicant version 1.22474487139. Thank you.
All right, let's go.
Game's great, guys. I mean, it's so weird. Like, I feel like Jacob, I agree with me, just because there's a lot of things you can nitpick about this. This is a game I feel like is greater than the sum of its parts. And
absolutely, yeah.
Just,
I guess you want me to jump in here too?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, so I guess I'll hold off on like where this game ranks for me. But I really like this game. It like, I don't want to like take away the conversation from you, but yeah, I definitely agree that it's definitely a game that like, yeah, when you think about it like in terms of its parts and like what it's doing, it's like I don't see how this is such a great story or experience, but it somehow like it just manages to like pull everything together into like this really amazing game.
Yep. Especially when you got to do all that shit to get all those weapons and replay stuff. It's like, we're like in the moment, it just feels maybe tedious and hard. But then you think back of it as like, I don't know how much I would actually change what I did.
Yeah. It's a game that's definitely like meant to. I feel like it's purposely designed to like irritate or like get under your skin, but it's like the characters themselves are kind of like experiencing this irritation and this like. There's lots of moments where it's kind of like a meta game in a sense where characters are actively commenting on like the bullshittiness of like these fetch quests and like how ridiculous this is. And like, oh, like yeah, we got to hit the boss in the glowing weak point. Like how obvious. But it's very playful and like it's not that stuff doesn't. There's a world in which like this game could be like way more cynical than it is, and I think that stuff comes off in a negative way. But there's a lot of warmth to it, and I think it's like it is critiquing, but also kind of embracing like the gaminess of this and like these tropes. And in that way, like I'm more accepting of kind of that irritation level to the game.
Yeah. And I'm kind of glad I played, this, or at least this version first, arguably, it'd probably be better if I played this before Automata, but just, looking out the fact like, oh, ending E obviously was not in the original. And correct me if I'm wrong, but the whole thing with the girl in the boat was not in the original as well.
Yeah, that was not. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, that stuff's great. I'm glad I was able to experience that just kind of with everything else.
Yeah, I guess that's another great thing about this remake is that they do add in new stuff. I think a lot of it comes from short stories that were published after the game came out, but they do a very good job of like seamlessly tying it into the original, what was originally there. And it feels very coherent with the rest of the game and what's going on.
Like I knew ending E was a new thing, but when I looked afterwards about the girl on the boat, I'm like, wait, that was added on? Huh, that just fit pretty perfectly in there. I felt like.
Yeah.
Is it better to play that one before Automata? Is that what you were saying?
Yeah, because it is the first game, and there is some. I mean, it's okay to play Automata before this for sure, because that's what I did. But it kind of makes me want to replay Automata just so I can understand more about what goes on when it mentions, like Jacob mentioned Emil, him being in there. I can understand kind of more what's going on with him. And Devila and Popola are two characters.
Though, correct me if I'm wrong, I would say if you start playing Nier Replicant and you don't like it, maybe just go ahead to Automata. I think Automata is the way more fun gameplay.
Yes.
So instead of writing the whole series off if you're not enjoying Replicant, because to be honest, Replicant, to me, an outsider or whatever, looks very dated and kind of boring to play, gameplay-wise. I mean, I believe you with the story, but the gameplay does not look super compelling to me. Automata looks a lot more fun. As far as like,
I think I don't know how much they actually like changed or tweaked like the actual gameplay. I think some of the boss fights are really cool and do some interesting stuff, and not as much like Automata for sure. But I feel again, I think the combat's definitely serviceable at least. What is it?
Yeah. I think when I think of like those two games compared to each other, it's definitely like, what do you prefer? Do you prefer like this more action heavy, like sci-fi kind of story where I guess like there's like big conspiracy going on, and it's just versus like, I think Nier Replicant is much more again like this very pastoral, very slow paced kind of game that's more interested in playing with like JRPG tropes and kind of unpacking. I guess like it's a much more like character focused game. I feel like Nier Replicant, where it's asking much more like personal questions about what it means to like know yourself and like to find out who you are, or again like being in the role of like the personal role of being like a caretaker is a very strong focus of that game. And so whereas like Automata has a much like wider scope, and I think in like what it's interested in. So I guess it is more sci-fi focused. So I guess it just depends on like what what kind of story, what kind of vibe you prefer.
And after playing it, I don't get what people have against Brother Nier. It's perfectly fine. I can get if you can prefer Papa Nier, but the hate Brother Nier gets is weird to me now.
I agree. Yeah, like, there are definitely like narrative beats that make more sense with Brother Nier.
Yeah, especially that's the intended one.
Is it me?
Yeah.
My number 2 is Ratchet and Clank. I agree with everything that Will said, where it's like I am left with some level of disappointment with Ratchet and Clank, just in the sense that I got to the end of it, I was like, it was definitely is a Ratchet and Clank game, and I don't think it was like pushing that envelope very much. At the same time, I think it was like, I really have nothing bad to say about the game. Like, I think it was like, it was a blast, and it did everything that Ratchet and Clank has ever done to the best of its ability. I think the game is snappy and fast. Like, I don't think it like wears out its welcome. There was never a time I was bored or like wanting something to get by. I think there's cool optional stuff that feels worthwhile and fun to do, but it never felt like this big checklist of things I don't want to do. Like I pretty much did everything you can do in the game, and it didn't feel, it felt just nice to do, like doing all the side stuff in the worlds just seemed like something you would just want to do just while you're roaming around the world. So I just think it was snappy. It was like really, 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 really well made. It just shows the Insomniac just is very, very good at what they do. And like it also, there's definitely a nostalgia factor here because I grew up with Ratchet and Clank, Jak and Daxter, and Sly Cooper, and it's kind of sucked that all three of those franchises kind of felt like they were just dormant, and then now that Ratchet and Clank gets this type of treatment, it's pretty special. It's very, very, very cool to see, you know, because you get Mario Odyssey, you get those type of things or whatever, but it's like, you know, the trifecta of my childhood. Can we get like the real next echelon?
Even
of that?
Kirby's getting a 3D platform.
Even Kirby, the Nintendo.
God, it
gets all.
looks so good.
It does, but so it was just kind of nice to finally see one of them really, really get that full treatment. Even though 2016 was great and I loved it, but like this is the next step up. Now, Sly Cooper next, please.
Yes,
Please.
please.
But I have to put it as number 2. I agree with Will on another year. Like if this was last year, this would not be in the top 5 for sure. It would be, you know, it would be kicked out. But it's just, you know, and this is a weaker year for me, and I have to put it up there. It's very good.
Jacob.
All right, my number 2 is Inscription.
Yeah. I thought it might be number 1. Yeah.
It's really a toss-up. So Inscription is it's just a phenomenal game. It's hard to talk about it without like really getting into kind of what that game changes and morphs into. I feel like the reason why I put it at number 2 is because there are some things in like the latter half of the game that just don't, that like, I appreciate and I think are interesting, but like just don't really hit in the same way for me that it maybe hit for other people. But still like a really good game, a game that I'm going to be thinking about for like a long, long time. So truly like a toss up between this and, you know, the first place game. But I think what I like about Inscription is, again, like the vibe, the card game mechanic itself is, I think, really well done. And like, honestly, like I'm excited they're putting in like a true kind of like endless roguelike mode. And again, what the game kind of becomes into is, I don't really want to give away anything, but just it's another game that I think is about like the creative process and just the way that like it's a game that's almost about game development, and I think the way that like you can see different competing visions or creative voices kind of come to a head and ultimately kind of like destroy a creative project, I think is very, very interesting and very well done in the way it's presented in Inscription, and then also just the craziness of it all. So again, not too much I can really say about it without like spoiling the mess out of it, because it's definitely, I think, worth anyone's time. But yeah, that's my number 2.
Oh yeah. William.
All right. I think my number 2 is going to be Guardians of the Galaxy. We've talked about it a lot today, so I won't talk too much more about it. But yeah, I think the main thing was just that it was surprising, right? I think everyone kind of wrote it off as like, I don't know, 6, 7. And it was just really, really solid. I think the characters is what made it for the most part. Just the success in being able to have those somewhat familiar characters in a new version that didn't seem off is pretty incredible, actually. As well as just the settings you're going to, the overall story and narrative, while not the best thing in the world, is still entertaining and gets you to some pretty cool environments. And I guess the most important thing, it puts the characters in interesting situations. And then just with the gameplay, I mean, I am so happy that they decided just to focus this game on Star-Lord. You just play as him, but you're able to control your squad mates as if it was Mass Effect or Final Fantasy VII. And I've come to realize that I absolutely love games that do that, where you play as one character, but you kind of can control your squad. So I was really thrilled with that just basic gameplay mechanic where you're just really leveling up one person for the most part, but still have the opportunity to, tell the others what to do.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I guess that's about it. But Guardians is my number 2.
All right. My number 2, and I'm going to assume Darby's just going to end up joining me here, is so this is where I'll start the GOTY time code. Number 2 is It Takes Two.
Yeah, my number 1 is It Takes Two.
This game.
Man, I mean, transcend. I mean, this is the one game on this list that I think at least has a conversation for my top of all time list or whatever. I don't know if it get up there in the top 10, but like it's worth having the conversation of or whatever, because like this game is really that good.
Like me and Darby have been saying throughout and all this year, it's just all the crazy ideas. Darby and I kept saying to the stream, no ideas were told no. Someone had the idea. It's in this game somewhere or another.
But it's also not like, it's not just the overabundance of like, some of the stuff works, some of it doesn't. It's like every single like area of this game, they like whittled it. They made sure it's like, but is it fun? It's like the story is cute, the story is nice and everything, but they're like, fun mechanic, is it fun or whatever? And they like worked it until it was just like pure video game fun, and then they like moved on. All right, that's done. Next idea. That's done. Next idea. And like it really is, especially with that co-op thing, like the way that you solve puzzles together and you're doing completely opposite things, but they like work together in such a like perfect way. And whenever your two brains click, and it's like not both your sides are equally as important. This game is really a one of one. Like there are other co-op games like this, but I don't think any of them do it to this degree of like synergy with the.
I agree, and I think because like it, what you got both characters do, like works together so well. It's the game that makes it more replayable. So like if you wanted to play with someone else, you can just play as the other character, and for a decent chunk of the game, at least the gameplay experience is going to be different.
Yeah,
you're going to be doing something different.
Go for 100%. Yeah, completely different. Yeah, I love that, and I kind of love that they don't give you a choice with it. It's kind of like narratively, they're like even sometimes he comments on like, well, you get this thing. Like,
why do you always get the cool shit? Yeah, it's just so well done.
And it's so charming. I mean, the story, it's definitely not the focus, but it is incredibly charming, incredibly moving sometimes. The twists and stuff, it's just, the game is just fun. Like the writing, you could tell everyone making this game was just having a blast making this game.
A lot of fun Easter eggs.
Yes. And the mini games, some of the mini games, like they're pointless in the grand scheme of things, but it is still just like there's a whole big chess thing where you just randomly you play chess against each other, or there's a like tug of war thing, or there's like a race car like thing where you're going whack-a-mole. Yeah, so many of these that you just randomly come across, and they're like, and the husband and wife are, it's like, cause they're getting divorced, but they're like slowly working their marriage back together or whatever. It's like, hey, I remember when we used to play this or whatever. It's like there's so many like cool little things that just, I fully expected the game to dip at some point. It just like was relentless. It was amazing.
Yeah, I was worried when hearing how long it was that thing, but by the end it's like, oh nope, they just nailed it.
And there's the elephant, but there's another when it goes into a certain type of game mode that was like, so like there's a lot of riffing on popular video games, but it never feels like cheap. It feels like, oh shit, we're doing this, but then like they would have some cool unique twist on it that would make it really worthwhile. It's everyone should play this game. It's great.
All right,
I'm gonna have to put Mitchell through boot camp so that she can beat this boss.
Just have her play the 3D Mario games. Just do that. Have her beat the, regular games, and just have her beat the post games. She'll be up to snuff.
Make her go through your entire lifetime of video games, and then she'll get just like play through all the games that you play.
And gain my 20 years of experience. Go. Sorry, Jacob.
Oh, no, you're fine. My number 1, my game of the year of 2021, which probably no surprise at this point, is Nier Replicant. Which whatever the version number is, I don't know off the top of my head, but not much else.
Fake fan.
It's like 1.22 or something, but I mean, not much else to say about this that hasn't already been said. But just when I think about this year and just how many like the looping mechanic has been like a big focus of a lot of games this year. I think you could argue that Nier Replicant is also like a loop game. And I guess like its looping mechanic of repeating stuff. I think it's like it's asking you like, even knowing that like maybe like something that you did, or like something, even with like all the context of maybe what your actions bring about, would even having that perspective really even be able to change what you did, or is that just something that you just have to reconcile with and acknowledge? And instead of trying to change the outcome of like of something that's larger or beyond your control, maybe trying to find moments of grace or levity or community in very small moments of interconnections with people. And I think that's where the heart of Nier Replicant lies. And I think that's a very powerful, I think, message back in, 2010 when the game came out. But I think even more in the context of 2021, I think that's an even stronger narrative. So yeah, that is my game of the year.
Hell yeah.
All right. Number one for me is going to have to be Deathloop. I really, really enjoyed this game. I think it's kind of comical that it was getting like 10s and stuff. I don't think it's a perfect game by any means. But I did really like it. I know Jeff was saying earlier about it being maybe a little bit more linear than expected, and I understand that critique. I think it probably should have been an option to be able to turn some of those cutscenes off and turn off the marker. But honestly, for me, I don't think I would have beat this game or gotten anywhere close to beating it if it wasn't presented to me in that way. Mm-hmm. That's just, I find myself playing more and more linear type of games. So I think I kind of appreciated not having to figure out every single bit of minutia to figure out how to kill the people in the correct order and that kind of stuff. I kind of like that it was fed to me, but I do understand that critique, like I said. But the gameplay was incredible to me. I liked the mix of not exactly Doom style gameplay, but I mean, it was pretty fast and kinetic if you wanted it to be, but you could also be very slow and stealthy, which is how I played for the most part. I liked the different powers you could get, how you could upgrade them the more you killed the same people. I mean, it was just a game I really got into in a way that I just really haven't in a while. So Deathloop's going to be my 2021 game of the year.
All right. Unfortunately, I knew it wasn't going to happen, but it'd be funny if his was Resident Evil, and all top 4 of my games were at least one of our games of the year. But my game of the year is, I think, unsurprisingly,
12 minutes.
Yes, exactly. I love that game now. I had a change of heart. No, Psychonauts 2. Let's go, baby. Yeah, it's not a surprise. It's my most anticipated game for the last 2 years. Finally came out. Let's go. But I think this is a very special game. Obviously, I love 3D platformers, and this was a good year for them, for sure. Hopefully next year is also, or this year's a good one for them. But what makes Psychonauts stand apart as a franchise is just the writing on it. Like, it's just actually funny and just has very good writing and characters and all that. And what makes this like a step above, I think, the original Psychonauts as a whole is it's kind of more focused on mental health in comparison. Like, it did go on there, but it has a more focus on here, and the fact that, Tim Schafer and Double Fine came and was like, yes, we didn't take this stuff lightly. We talked to experts and all that stuff. We want to make sure we got this right. And I think it does show in the story and, through the levels, because a lot of the characters' psyches do have an effect on the levels you were playing in. And Psychonauts had some of the most creative levels in gaming. And while you can argue the platforming and combat is not the best, which, I agree, it's not like the top of the genre, but it is a lot of fun. And again, the levels and characters and stuff just add so much to it. And Raz is a fantastic character, and I don't know. This game just went harder in some ways than I thought it would, as far as its story and some of its messaging and all that in comparison to Psychonauts. I think this is easily probably now one of my top games of all time. It's just that good. Everyone should play it.
Awesome.
I know,
Hell
I'm,
yeah.
I'm happy that came out and that was a big success, because I know I think like a well understood like worry of this game has taken just so long to come out, and that worry of disappointment or
I 100% get that, and I always in the back of my mind, I felt good about it, but you always have that worry in the back of my mind because we've heard of so many sequels that are kind of like this come out and just kind of very disappointing. But as far as it taking so long, at least Tim Schafer and Double Fine were pretty open. It's like, oh no, we're taking longer because we got money and we can put stuff back into the game and just polish this shit up. And it shows.
Yeah, that Microsoft acquisition, they definitely changed this game.
Yeah, because they're talking about they removed most of the bot fights and they were going to put it back in. And now I'm like, these bot fights are great. So it just helped the game so much.
It's just so awesome that after all that time, probably a sequel they never thought they would get to make, and then to be able to like make it closer to their full vision.
Yep, and consider one of the best games of the year in a lot of places.
Pretty special. Yeah, very special. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is 2021 in video games
In 3 hours.
in 3 hours. Hey, I looked last year, we were 3 hours and 17 minutes, so we're going to do better this year, and we did it. Well, thank you, gentlemen, for joining us for such a long recording, but I always look forward to it every single year. It was a blast.
No, thank you.
Absolutely. Thanks.
Yeah, and also, Jacob, congrats while we're all on the air on your resounding victory for the Game Awards betting special.
Oh yes, thank you.
Just the curb stomp. Just absolute curb stomp.
Yeah, well, how do you feel you didn't get a single bet right?
I demand the recount.
No.
even Joseph Fares could not stop me. It was
It's funny. You felt so bad. I think that's like the only bet you might have gotten wrong. Maybe one other smaller one.
Yeah, I think
You got the most of them. You got most of yours right for sure.
Yes, I crushed it, which is it feels good.
Well, definitely stay tuned for the next podcast, and at some point, I don't know exactly when it'll be, but we're gonna try to do a 2021 non-gaming episode. It'll probably be a lot shorter than this, and a little more loosey-goosey, no ranking, just talking about some cool things.
Whatever shit we want to talk about.
Whatever shit we want to talk about. I'll probably talk about K-pop because I've become an interesting human being. So I look forward to that. Thank you guys so much. Peace.
Bye.
Yeah.
Bye.